Welcome back, everyone. This is The Angry Chicken, the podcast all about Hearthstone, and we are recording a day early because this Tuesday is the launch of Descent of Dragons. So, happy Descent of Dragons Eve, Jocelyn. How are you doing?
I'm pretty excited. I love early shows that are then followed up by crazy card opening streams when I get all of the legendaries, and then I get to feel happy and Garrett gets to feel sad.
One of these times, I'm just waiting for it to swing the other direction, where you're gonna like hit the pity timer every single time. Those are gonna be the only legendaries you get. It's not. And I know it sounds like I'm hoping for this, and that's because I am.
I know.
That's because
I feel like, especially since I don't understand why I got a duplicate legendary, and then it's because I had all the legendaries from the last expansion. I understand.
That didn't even happen on stream or while we were recording the podcast. I think you and I were just talking and playing Hearthstone for some reason, and then you opened a pack, and you were just like, I don't know why I got duplicate legend. Oh, I already have all the legendaries for Saviors of Uldum, and I just go, F you, Jocelyn. I didn't say F.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I just happened to be on a call with you, and that's why I don't really talk to you outside of the show anymore, Jocelyn. I'm sorry.
I thought it was a bug. It wasn't.
Jocelyn is the 1%. Let's get that hashtag trending. Gotta get it. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm stoked too. I'm always excited, even though my luck is the worst. Confirmed by Trixler, by the way, because we, by the way, you should head over to youtube.com/amovetv right now, because Jocelyn, you and I crashed Trixler's stream last Friday and piloted some Battlegrounds games, which turns out is mind-bending and significantly more difficult than just playing by yourself. And I
thought it was super fun.
Oh, it was totally fun. I loved it. I had a really good time. I love
jumping in and then like potentially screwing up your turn.
Yes. That's always it's
like, oh, hey, Garrett, here's another thing for you to think about. How's that rope treating you?
Well, we put up a highlight of one of the games. It was our curator game where we got one of the buffest little adorable amalgam tokens ever. And actually not, I've seen way bigger amalgams, but it was still smashing some serious space in that game.
It's okay, Garrett. You don't need to feel bad about the size of your amalgam. It did the job.
They've got pills for that, and it's called Life Thing Enforcer. That's over on the YouTube right now, and the entire uncut clip of all 4 games we played is up for patrons right now over at patreon.com/TAC. And while we're talking about our patrons, we should go ahead and thank them, Josh, because we have so many cards to get through today, and we have a balance patch. Well, technically the patch is all one thing, but we had a balance update to the Battlegrounds, and today we're going to swap it. For you old school Hearthstone fans that maybe aren't as into Battlegrounds, we're going to lead today with card talk and just talk all about Standard, a little bit of Wild, and maybe even a couple. Well, this card's only good for Arena. And then at the end of the show, we're going to go over the changes that hit Battlegrounds, and that's basically the show today. And because it is such a thick show, as has been the case for literally weeks now, we're going to kick the episode off by thanking some of our newer patrons. We thank you in the order that you signed up, so if you haven't been thanked yet, don't worry, it is coming. So this week, thank you to John Clark, Jack Fox, and Brandon Kester. Thank you so much for supporting our show, and if you're out there listening, you like this podcast, you think to yourself, my God, these last few weeks have been really long episodes. Well, it's because of the support of folks like John Clark, Jack Fox, and Brendan Kester supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. We've got some perks over there too, by the way, like access to the patron-only Discord, early signups for our community tournaments, stuff like that. But, Jocelyn, we're adding a new perk. I'm excited about this.
We are, yeah. I'm really excited too, mostly because it's Garrett work, not Joss work. So
I put you to work this week. Don't worry.
That's
don't worry.
True.
You'll get a little extra work. It's not a big deal though. I think this will be the maiden voyage of this perk this week. So bear with me, folks. I may flip a wrong switch somewhere, but it seems pretty straightforward. We are now going to be offering an ad-free RSS feed to our patrons. Patreon offered this a really long time ago, and it wasn't quite as nuanced and feature-rich as we hoped it would be. They have since apparently made a lot of updates to it. It works really freaking well. And so, yeah, what basically happens is you will receive a custom RSS link when you sign up to be a patron for the Angry Chicken. And once we flip the switch, all current patrons, you should be receiving a link as well. So keep an eye on your inbox. check the spam. I know Patreon probably, hit you with some promos and stuff. Might go to spam.
Patreon sends a lot of emails.
They do. And it's all like very positive and like, hey, go support the creators that you love. But, like anything else, sometimes that stuff goes to spam. So check it. Check it out. And basically you should be able to take that RSS link and then just plug it into whatever podcatcher you use. I'm not going to sit here and go over literally every way to submit an RSS link directly into a podcatcher because I don't know all of the ways and we would be here a while. So just go to Google, whatever your podcatcher is, and type in how to manually add an RSS feed to fill in the podcatcher you use. Pocket Casts, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. Chances are there's a way to get this patron-only RSS feed directly added into the podcatcher that you already use so you can just get ad-free Angry Chicken like you already get normal Angry Chicken. So go check that out. Patreon.com/TAC. So anyways, Jocelyn, let's get into cards this week because we have, I think, over 40 cards to talk about, which is a ton. Like an absolute
it's
ton.
A lot. It's a lot, which I mean is good. I always like these shows. They're a lot of fun, but I mean, it's so many cards. I think we did 33 last week and now we've got 40 this week. I like the condensed card reveal time because, the really long, felt like a month and a half drip feed we used to get where we'd have 5 cards a week. It was good for content creation because we didn't end up with 4-hour episodes, but I don't know. I think this is fun. This is better. I like this.
Yeah. I mean, as far as how the sausage is made, I think I mentioned this multiple times back when we were kind of sick with the drip feed. I'm like, man, it really stinks for, theory crafting. But if they ever got away from it, it would also be kind of challenging for people that make podcasts. Me. And now we live in that reality, but at least we have a lot more information to go off of when we're looking at new cards. And so in that way, I'm a big fan. And one of these days, I'm going to figure out a better way to handle card reveals on a podcast. But it is not this day. So let's get started with over 40 cards to talk about with Druid. And I know we've been going in ascending order of rarity, but I kind of messed up the notes today, and that's not the case, and that's not the order that Hearthstone lists their cards in. So we're going backwards. We're starting with legendaries today. And we're going to talk about Goru, the Might Tree, because we already talked about Ysera Unleashed, which I almost just started reading. Goru is a 7-mana 5/10 legendary druid minion with taunt and a battle cry that reads, for the rest of the game, your treants have +1/+1. So this is just a permanent kind of Keleseth-esque effect, only there's not a build around restriction other than this sucker costs 7 mana to deploy.
He does have decent stats though. I mean, he's got 10 health is a lot of health for a 7-mana minion. So he's taunt. So he's not terrible in and of himself. And I think his effect is interesting because they did get a lot of, it seems like they've been trying to make Treant Druid a thing for quite a while. And there's a lot of Treant support in this expansion specifically for Druid. Now, Druid's got Quest with the choose one effects right now that is kind of their go-to powerful deck, but I think there might be something in Treants. If you like a token Druid variant, there might be a Treant only token build that you can go with.
Yeah, I'm in kind of the same mind. We have gotten so many different Treant tools basically over this entire year, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it feels like this might be the tipping point where it's okay, now we finally have everything that we need for Treants to actually become the Druid token.
Yeah, I guess the big kind of break for me is that because Goru is 7 mana, my brain goes to ramp, and at least right now in the Hearthstone reality we currently live in, ramp is really only good in the quest deck, and I don't know that a quest Treant Druid is going to be a thing. And post Descent of Dragons, there's also a ton of new awesome ramp coming in, but it's only for dragons. It's dragon specific ramp, which looks fantastic, but again, not Treants. So Guru being, 7's not the end of the world, and you could, it's the quest Druid. It's not like it's running ramp that is only good for the quest deck. It's just that's where it current, it's proven and it works. And, token decks usually run a little bit more lean. And, maybe who knows if a Treant token Druid actually works out if you're trying to squeeze in 2 copies of Nourish or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too sure in that regard. But, I mean, honestly, if you can find a spot for like 1 Nourish, it pretty much fixes the issue of finding 7 mana to deploy Goru.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you play against a Paladin and it doesn't matter because you just got your butt set to 10 mana. There you go. Just plan to play against nothing but Paladins dropping those Dormu. How's that sound?
Love it. Love it.
Wondrous.
So consistent.
Wondrous, yeah. No, there's just something about this. Like my present brain and my dragon brain go, man, I just don't know if we've got the ramp to make this work. But my gut is just like, yeah, Goru, okay. I'm into what you're putting down. I want to try and make a Treant Druid work.
Yeah, I think now is the time if you were ever going to do it. I mean, especially with the Forest Aid, like people are already running that card. So that just is straight up better if you find 1 slot for this guy. Like, I don't know, man. It just seems good. I'm on board. I want to give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to just say the name of the next card because it just sounds wrong. It's Embiggen. Embiggen. We're going to Embiggen some Moonkin. Jocelyn, how's that sound? Embiggen is
I love it.
Is a 0 mana epic druid spell that reads, give all minions in your deck +2/+2. They cost 1 more, up to 10 in parentheses.
Yes. So this is like, it seems so good because if you can play this right away, then your deck just gets bigger. But then it's like, man, that extra mana cost though. But it's also good because, I mean, Druid is, if any class isn't going to care as much about mana increases, it's going to be Druid because, like we mentioned, ramp. So I don't know. I'm on I feel like this might be a trap. But also maybe it's good. I don't know. I don't know. This is another one of those ones where it's like in actual practice, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but I think it's good. I don't think 1 more mana is a huge drawback for a double Keleseth buff. +2/+2. Yeah, that's a big buff.
Yeah. And like you said, ramp, like I just ×2 on basically everything you said. And like, I don't, and it also like my opinion changes depending on like the Druid minion I'm thinking of, or the card that like finds its way into Druid decks right now. And like a really good example I can think of is Acorn Bearer, because I would not mind paying 2 mana for a 4/3 that gives me 2/1/1 squirrels. That sounds awesome. Sure. Why not? 2 mana. I can find 2 mana. Not as great example, I think, is Evil Cable Rat, which is in the same deck as Acorn Bearer right now for Druid. Because then that's a 3 mana 3/3. I don't care. I just want the lackeys. That's why I'm playing Evil Cable Rat. So that costing 1 more is not as exciting for me. But I overall, I like this because I was kind of running that exercise around in my brain of like, well, what minions are we playing in Druid right now? And hell, even in Dragons, I don't think I would mind it too much. So I kept coming up.
It's interesting that you mentioned Dragons because there is a cap of 10 on this. So you can never make it so that your minions are like more than 10 mana and therefore unplayable. So since there's a cap, I mean, is there some sort of like big Druid maybe that plays like 9 and 10 cost minions and then, 2 copies of Embiggen, because it's not legendary spell, which means you could do this twice. So if the only minions in your deck are super big late game and then you're just adding stats on top of them, like, is that a potential place that an Embiggen deck could go?
I don't think
there's another one later on. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. Oh, a Strength in Numbers we're going to talk about in a little bit. That basically might work in a big Druid, and I'm wondering if maybe that's one of those like meme outside the norm off meta decks that might come out of this kind of tech in Descent of Dragons.
I guess to your kind of, is there a big strategy? I'm not sure +4/+4 if you're playing 9 or 10 mana.
Yeah,
matters.
by the time you get up there, does +4/+4 matter? Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like they're going to need hard removal one way or another, and if they have it, it's going to feel bad. Like you're talking about a Kings, and Kings is cool because you can deploy it to a minion already in play and kind of it's a gotcha effect because if if they left something on board, suddenly it's now a very large threat because of Blessing of Kings. That's not the case because of the way that Embiggen works. The card has to be in your deck. But we have been very down. When I say we, I mean the Hearthstone, the game has been very down on hand buffs. Historically, they have not worked out. But this one I very much enjoy because what has worked out was Keleseth. And this is a Keleseth type effect. And yes, there is a drawback in terms of the increasing the mana cost. But
yeah, there's a drawback, but not a build around effect. So I feel like you're more free to make decisions of what you're willing to pay for an effect like this. Like you can, build your deck around it, but whatever your build around condition is, it's not put on the card necessarily the way Keleseth was. Like Keleseth, you had to take all the 2-drops out of your deck. Like you didn't have a choice. You couldn't be like, I'm going to give up all my 3-drops instead. Whereas this is kind of like, okay, here's what's the bad thing that's going to happen to you, but you can work around that in whatever way you see fit. So I think this is, it's interesting. I think it's more interesting than just a straight up Keleseth.
I agree. I like this card so much that the really only big question for me is, do I even run 2 copies? Because I'm not sure. And I do think 2 mana, it's nice for the +4/+4. I'm not sure that's worth it, but we'll see.
It's kind of like it becomes, what does your actual deck look like, right? Like, is Embiggen going to make or break the way that your deck plays? So do you want to ensure that you draw it? Because if you want to ensure that you draw it, you put 2 copies in, right? But if you may not actually want to cast them both, but if you want to make sure that you get it early and get that kind of running, and that's the way that your deck is going to find success, then you're going to want both copies.
Yeah. So I like it. I like Embiggen. I believe in Embiggen.
Yeah.
This is one I think I might be wrong about. This is one I think might blow in my face where everyone's going to be like, Gary, you were super into Embiggen, but you like it, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I do.
You're usually right. So. God, that hurts to say still.
I know.
I just heard the sound of a life drinker hitting the board. That's what I just heard. Aeroponics is next. This is a 5 mana rare druid spell that reads, draw 2 cards, costs 2 less for each treant you control.
Yeah, so this is some of that treant support that we were talking about earlier on, because Aeroponics actually goes quite well with a lot of things that are already seeing play. So, I mean, as soon as you get 2 treants on the board, this is a 1 mana spell. So 1 mana, draw 2 cards. And there's a lot of things that generate treants as their tokens. So for instance, like Cenarius, you can play this alongside that, or Garden Gnome. If you play it alongside Garden Gnome, then it's still a 5 mana play. So you get your stats on board, your treants on board, and you get to draw a couple cards, like really good tempo swings. It's just straight up free card draw with Force of Nature. Now, no, not a lot of people are playing that right now, but I think Force of Nature would probably go into a treant deck. So I think if we're going to make a treant deck work, then this goes into it because it does kind of combo with a lot of those treant token generating cards.
I'm just happy to get a break from saying, well, if Dragon deck works out well for this class, this will definitely go in that deck. And now I get to say, well, if Treant Druid works out well for Druid, this definitely goes into that deck.
Exactly. It really does. Because, I mean, 2 cards is so great. And there's, like I said, a lot of things you can combo this with. So, and that's not only like stuff, just if you're building a Treant deck, you're building a token deck, which means if you don't have Treants on the board, then that's just bad. You're losing. So, I mean, this might as well say, 1 mana, draw 2 cards unless you're losing the game.
Pretty much.
Then you're probably screwed anyways. So try again next time.
It's not a do nothing card. Buddy. Like if you're really up Schitt's Creek, you pay 5 mana and draw 2 cards. And there might be a scenario where you're just like, oh, thank God, at least I can pay 5 mana. Because this isn't, if you have treants on board, draw 2 cards. This is just draw 2 cards and you get a massive discount if you have treants, which is
2 mana less for each treant is huge. Like that's a really big discount. I was expecting it to be like 1 less for each treant. And then I'm like, you got to basically have a whole treant board, but it's not. So because it's 2 less for each treant, it means it goes better with some of those other combo cards that are making tokens. Cause a lot of them make 2 treants. So
somebody over there really wants Treant Druid to be a thing. And I support it. I support
Oh yeah. I'm down.
let's we got 2 more Druid cards before we move on. So no, 3 more, right? Yeah. Sorry, we haven't talked about reinforcements.
Love it.
High five, whoever named this card. Reinforcements is a 1-mana rare Druid spell that reads: choose 1, give a minion +2 health and taunt, or summon a 2/2 Treant. So maybe Quest Treant Druid isn't. I'm not sure. This card alone is enough to make me want to try and make that be a thing. But yeah,
I still think you go either or. I still think you go choose 1 or Treants. But 1 mana summon a 2/2 of the basically tribe. Like there is no actual like Treant tag on these cards, but they might as well be a tribe at this point. So I mean, you basically get a 2/2 that has the tribe that you're trying to build your deck around. That seems really good. So,
and it has some flex if for some reason you're winning too hard and have a board full of Treants. You're just like, well, I guess I'll make one of them work out a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, a 1-mana 2/2, we played the living crap out of Enchanted Raven. Back, that would have been Karazhan, I believe Enchanted Raven was from. And this is the same thing, except instead of it being a beast, it's a Treant, and there's a lot of Treant love, a lot of Treant synergy available to Druid now, and even more of it, as we've been talking about just today, as new cards are being added. So yeah, I think Strength in Numbers is absolutely a card you look at if you're trying to build a Treant deck. I don't see a world where this doesn't find a deck slot in a Treant deck. So I dig it. I also dig failing to say Shrubbadier? Shrubbadier? How do you say this?
Shrubbadier?
Shrubbadier. That makes so much more sense.
Like a bombardier, but they're dropping shrubs.
There it is. You figured it out. Shrubbadier.
Yeah.
Shrubbadier.
They really leaned into the tree naming in this expansion, and they're the puns are strong.
They are strong. And Shrubbadier is not really, but we'll say sufficient. Shrubbadier is a 2-mana 1/1 common Druid minion with a battle cry, summon a 2/2 Treant.
Yep. So again, I mean, like you're getting 3/3 stats for 2 mana split over 2 bodies, and you've got your Treant tribal synergy. So if you're going token, then you're putting Shrubbadier in your deck.
Yeah. Yep. Put it in your Treant deck, everybody.
And it has really, really cute art. Like I really like this one because you've got this cute little, I don't know, is she a gnome? I think.
Oh, totally
maybe.
A gnome.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell with the big kind of like snow jacket she's got on, and then she's just got such a sweet face, and then she's dropping these like little treants in pots, and like he looks like so angry, like he's like, yes, I'm gonna win this war, and I'm like, but you're just a little treant, but he's just so into it.
I mean, that's all well and good, but Reinforcements definitely wins because it's a druid pointing out battle plans to a room full of trees, and I love it.
That's so true. Yeah, I just feel like the tree, the tree art, even aeroponics is like. The little guy in the front has just this smile that goes like literally ear to ear, which I can't decide if that's cute or effing terrifying.
It's kind of a jack-o'-lantern face going on there. So
it kind of is.
It bridges it. It bridges it. Wonderful. Well, one more druid card, Strength in Numbers. It's a 1-mana common druid spell. It's a side quest, and it reads: spend 10 mana on minions. Reward: summon a minion from your deck.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about in terms of some sort of like big druid, maybe comboed with Embiggen, because right now what druids are trying to do is very much like battle cries and choose ones, which are pretty much the worst if you're going to be pulling straight from your deck. So you want whatever you summon from your deck to just be amazing. So have a really good like end turn effect, or, you know, have a death rattle, just something really powerful that doesn't involve a choose one or a battle cry. So maybe big druid we'll see a comeback. Maybe there's something super cool, but Strength in Numbers side quest for druid is definitely not something that you want to be doing if you're trying any of the, if you're doing the treants, or if you're doing anything with the current like quest choose one, then you just stay away from this. But maybe someone will make a cool big druid work.
Yeah, I am not. I've been pretty jazzed on all of the druid cards we've talked about today. I am not on board with Strength in Numbers. Even with Embiggen, I'm like, again, it's like the +2, +2, the +4, +4. Is that enough like to give a card slot 2 strength and numbers? I don't think so.
I'm basically assuming that with this side quest, this is not something I'm playing early on in the game, or I'm playing it early on in the game, but I'm not expecting to complete it. What I'm kind of picturing is some sort of big druid that has this side quest active that just drops a 10-drop bomb that then also summons another bomb from your deck. So you're getting, another crazy big 9 or 10 drop alongside something big that you've just done. So that's kind of how I'm picturing it in my head. I don't exactly know what that deck looks like, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. And spending that 10 mana is just going to get easier if all your minions cost 1 or 2 more anyways and have that buff. So we'll see. That's a big maybe. That's like you try to do that for some memes. That might be a day one deck that I try just because I want to be so out there.
When you say it like that seems like that's not even meme. It's just like, I don't know. Can you spend a large amount of mana on one big minion and fit one more mana in there? Well, I guess if it's the same turn, it would have to be a 10-mana minion. So this would have to be on board ahead of time. But
yeah, no, I'm thinking of having this, just anytime I've got some sort of like extra mana hanging around floating, then I play this knowing that I'm not going to activate it anytime soon.
I think, yeah. So I'm with you. I'm following. Again, it's just like I look at it at Embiggen as like, this is just good enough as is. I don't need fancy tricks. I just want to spend 1 more mana for larger minions.
See, and I want to just try some fancy tricks.
That's okay. It's okay to want to meme. Don't let your memes be dreams.
Can I just have fun, Garrett?
Don't let your memes be dreams. Don't let your memes be dreams, Jocelyn. Don't let it happen. I had to play in Akazamzarak in Battlegrounds this week, so I let my memes be dreams.
How did that work out for you?
I'm coming around on him a little bit.
Okay.
I'm coming around on Akazamzarak. I feel I may have been a little unfair to poor Akazamzarak. I think he might be an average level, like right down the middle hero in Battlegrounds at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's okay.
He's okay. He's no Rafam, which we'll get to much later, but dear God. Hunter, we've already talked about literally every single Hunter card in the set.
Yeah.
So we can move right down to Mage. Yes, exactly. This is, you can tell I've been living with the most adorable puppy for a year now because I'm just boop, 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 boop. And I took some beautiful photos from my Christmas cards of our dogs. I'm in the holiday spirit. I'm just feeling adorable and ridiculous. It's great. It's a good way to live your life, everybody. I recommend everyone clone my dog, which is objectively the cutest in the world. Anyways, back to Mage instead of my dogs. Let's talk about Mana Giant because we've already talked about the Mage legendaries. So Mana Giant is a 8 mana, 8/8 epic Mage elemental that reads, costs 1 less for each card you've played this game that didn't start in your deck. Who is this? Rogue? Yeah. What are they doing here?
I saw a lot of people talking about how difficult it was to complete the Mage quest, but I think we've come a long way since then. And not only that, but Mana Giant says what for each card, not each spell, which means that he's got a bigger pool to pull from. It's basically just, like anything that wasn't in your deck, which also counts twin spells. So the second half of the twin spell didn't start in your deck. So that will reduce the cost of the Mana Giant. So I think that there's just a lot more tools now for Mage trying to generate random cards and random spells. So I don't think that Mana Giant is as terrible as maybe you think it is just looking at it objectively. And not to mention that, but he's also an elemental. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening in this set that kind of goes along with elementals. So I think Mana Giant might actually see some play in Mage.
Yeah, I don't think this card is bad at all. I mean, Mage historically has a lot of random card generation, right? And plus you mentioned Twin Spell, which is a wonderful thing to highlight. So I'm like, yeah, you're just doing Mage things, really, at the end of the day.
And they're getting a lot of support actually, even in this set with some cards that we've already talked about. We're going to talk about a little bit later on, but like Arcane Breath and Cobalt Spellkin are from this set specifically. And we talked about them in previous weeks, but you're basically like, if you're doing a thing, you're getting a random thing, or if you're, like it just, There's a lot more random generation. Violet Spellwing's another one we're going to talk about later today, but there's lots more ways to get random things in your hand, as well as the stuff that Mage is already doing. So I think that this could end up being 0 mana 8/8s for Mage, and yeah, that's good.
I agree. I think it's a solid minion that could definitely find its home in a Mage archetype or two.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what I think is one of the coolest spells I think I've seen in the history of Hearthstone. Rolling Fireball.
I like this a lot. Yeah, I think this is really cool.
This is very neat. It's a 5 mana epic mage spell. It reads deal 8 damage to a minion. Any excess damage continues to the left or right. So, first of all, like my note on this card in the show notes literally says Hearthstone AF. This card is so Hearthstone, and it's like an evolution of what we think of when we think of like how Hearthstone makes cards unique to its game. Like it kind of hits it with the Hearthstone branded stamp. And positioning is one of those big things, and randomness is one of those things, but controlled randomness. And all of that is present here on this spell, but in a way we haven't really seen before. We've seen damage adjacent minions and that kind of stuff, but never excess damage kind of rolling off to one of the sides of the minion you just dealt damage to. And I just think this is so freaking cool, and also just legitimately good targeted removal.
Mm-hmm. So when it says any excess damage continues to the left or right, like let's assume I've got like a 3 health minion and then a 1 health minion and then a 2 health minion. So 5 damage will go on to the 1 health minion, and then the extra 4 will keep going onto the 2 health minion, and then 2 damage after that will keep going. Like it's a cascading sort of effect.
Yes, that is my understanding. I saw a lot of folks talking about that, so it certainly sounds like it was confirmed. I could not find a source, but that my understanding is that this can potentially kill more than 2 targets if there's enough damage in that 8 to spread across the health of whatever you're shooting this at.
Yeah, this is just so cool.
Yeah, this is a supremely rad spell, and I also just think it's legitimately good removal.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm also I'm assuming that if you fire this at the leftmost minion, for example, it only has the option to go right, and vice versa if you fire this at the rightmost minion. That's my assumption. Again, couldn't find confirmation for that, but I'm getting out of the realm of I'm not going to complain about weird wording that might be misinterpreted here. I'm just going to go with that's how things tend to work in Hearthstone. So I think that's how this works. Confirmed in the stream itself. Okay, well, I didn't see the stream. Also, it was very strange the few times I tuned into it. They were having some audio issues. But good. Very good. Cool. Anyways, what's next? Let's see. Elemental Allies is the next one. I'm like, we already talked about Dragoncaster, Garrett. Move on. Elemental Allies is a 1 mana rare mage spell. It's a side quest that reads, play an elemental 2 turns in a row, reward, draw 3 spells from your deck. This is like the joust exception. If I've been saying that I think we have a joust in our hands with side quests, I think Elemental Allies is the golden shining exception that probably sees play, like competitive play.
Yeah, I don't think it asks too much of you, especially given some of the elementals that we see in this expansion and that already exist and see play in Mage right now. So I don't think it's asking too much of you. And the reward is really strong. So you get 3 targeted draws out of your deck, which just seems so good and makes me look at the other side quests going, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you have such a terrible effect? And this is what Mage gets. Like, what? I don't understand how this is a side quest when you compare it to all the other side quests, because they're all so bad and this is so good.
If I could think of a class that probably could use the help right now, I mean, Mage is up there. So
I guess so.
Yeah, but especially after getting like the Azure Explorer, like I'm not as excited about that Explorer Dragon as I am some of the other ones. So, it's a trade-off. Not that this I think necessarily goes in it, or I don't think this at all goes in a Dragon deck. But
this does some cool elemental mage stuff. Elemental random generating coolness.
It does, and they're getting a new elemental with Violet Spellwing, a 1 mana 1/1 common mage elemental with a death rattle that reads, add an arcane missile spell to your hand. So not only does this tie into the Mana Giant that we talked about earlier, which is in itself an elemental, this obviously ties into elemental allies, whether you're getting this Death Rattle or not. And frankly, if my opponent is going out of their way to use some sort of trick to not giving my arcane missiles off of this Violet Spellwing, I'm going to chalk that up to a win in my book.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I like Violet Spellwing as well because it's like just an easy to play or like cheap minion with an upside on its Death Rattle of giving you an arcane missiles. So with that in mind, and all the other elementals that are still available to Mage right now via other sets and neutral cards, like I think there could be an elemental deck. I think, like nothing jumps immediately to mind, but if this is the start of the lean into elementals, I think it's a very strong start because of elemental allies.
And we've already talked about their legendary on a previous show, Chimbala, and I think that there's a lot because they now have shown us Spellwing, which means that we're going to, even without taking deck slots, we're going to get some arcane missiles. And also with the Cobalt Spellkin, which gives you the 2 1-mana spells from your class, I think. This is starting to make Chimbala the 2/5/3, the 3-mana 2/5 elemental that Mage is getting. That legendary is starting to look better and better and better as we see more and more of the set. So I think we were kind of down on it originally, but I think that there might actually be something here in just a straight up like elemental spell Mage deck. I think it could be kind of cool and kind of good. Yeah,
me too. I've really enjoyed elemental decks in the past. So, seeing elemental allies, seeing just a solid 1-drop in Violet Spellwing has me excited to return to the archetype in Mage.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But anyways, before we continue on with Paladin, let's take a short break. Hey everyone, taking a quick break to thank today's sponsor, Harry's. Listeners of the Angry Chicken get $5 off any Harry's shave set by heading over to harrys.com/TAC. Free shipping ends on December 16th, so do not let the rope burn down on this one. I'm going to let you in on a secret. No matter what guy you're shopping for this holiday season, your dad, your brother, uncle, maybe your favorite Hearthstone podcaster, they probably have enough ties. I have no idea why they would need more than one wallet. Got a great idea though. Harry's razors. I have been a convert since Harry's first sponsored the Angry Chicken over 2 years ago. Their razors are high quality, affordable, get rid of my neck beard without nicking my neck, and they deliver new razors straight to my door. This time of year, I always give out their holiday gift boxes. They are very well put together, and who does not like a satisfying unboxing experience? And as a special offer for fans of TAC, we've partnered with Harry's to give you $5 off any shave set, including their limited edition holiday sets when you go to harrys.com/TAC. Plus, you're going to get that free shipping. In these sets, you're going to get a weighted handle with the option to engrave, 5-blade razor cartridges, foaming shave gel for a rich lather, travel cover to protect your blades, and it's all packaged in a handsome holiday gift box. Again, free shipping ends on December 16th, so act now. Just go to harrys.com/TAC. Again, that is harrys.com/TAC. All right, let's move into Paladin, Jocelyn, and we have talked about a decent number of them, but we're going to kick this off with Lightforged Crusader, a 7-mana, 7/7 epic Paladin minion with a battle cry that reads, if your deck has no neutral cards, add 5 random Paladin cards to your hand. What?
Yeah, like, okay.
What is happening with Paladin? They buried the lead here. We're all sitting here screaming about 4-mana 8/8s with wooden signs yelling on street corners. And they're sneaking in here with like a new type of like no neutral archetype they're trying to push.
Yeah, this is really, really crazy. And there's been a couple of times in Hearthstone's past where I've been building a deck. I feel like normally it's Mage, but there've been other classes where I'm just like, I don't have any neutral cards in here. Like everything I'm doing is class cards because it's all super powerful. And it's just kind of happened by accident almost. So I feel like maybe this isn't that big of an ask. And is 5 random Paladin cards good? Probably. I don't know.
I think it might be just a little bit too much of an ask right now. because there's, I believe, only 2 cards with this ask on them, right? We have Lightforged Crusader. We're going to talk about Lightforged Zealot in a little bit. Or if you want to like go all the way back to the StarCraft days and just make some people really mad, you should say Zealot. And they'll lose their minds.
Who says that?
Well, back in the day, some people. Some people. I mean, we say Zeal, so it doesn't matter. I'm getting away from my point to make a stupid joke about old StarCraft things that made people angry. But I like this. I like this a lot. And if it's the start of it, I'm already extremely interested because, folks, you know me, I do not get that excited about random card generation because I just assume I will always have the worst possible luck ever. I don't care. This is just a numbers game at this point. You're getting 5 random cards added to your hand. That is so much value. Now, granted, this is 7 mana. It basically does nothing the turn you play it except give you cards. So unless you, like, what can you do with the remaining mana? What turn are you on? All of those things. Your mileage may vary, but it's still a 7 mana 7/7 at the end of the day. It's not a total trash tier minion. So I'm very interested in this already just because of the pure value associated with this battle cry if you obviously build around it. If you're not building around it and just hoping you draw all your neutral cards, well, man, I certainly hope you don't have that many neutral cards in your deck. And yeah,
I mean, like, how many is Paladin running a ton of neutral cards right now? Like, is this really a big ask? Like,
if you look at the popular lists right now, like Quest and Shirvala, like, yes, they do have a decent number of neutral cards involved.
I feel like you would never want this in Shirvala because I find with Shirvala, I always have to worry about hand size.
Well, yeah.
I'm always dumping stuff, so I would never even think of trying this in Shirvala. But
I was just bringing it up as a current archetype being played, not necessarily something that would want to play Lightforged Crusader. that I don't think there's a lot of flex in that deck list, frankly.
Period. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if maybe there's some sort of, because obviously if you want like, I guess technically you probably want card draw, but maybe random generation is good enough. But what if there's just some like super hyper aggressive Paladin deck? Because that's why they got rid of Divine Favor, right? Is because they wanted to make sure, like, to get rid or to make sure the Paladin still had that oh my God, not downside. Weakness. Whoa, that took me a long time to find that word, guys. But this kind of shores up that weakness, right? Potentially. So, I got nothing left to do. It's turn 7. What do? I've got an empty hand. I play my Lightforged Crusader and bang, there we go.
I feel
more stuff to do.
A hyper aggressive Paladin would be very difficult to build without neutral cards.
Possibly.
A lot of aggro decks run neutral cards. And and I'm not even talking right now. Like, I realize right now, Murloc Paladin, Murloc Shaman still a thing. And obviously, if you're playing Murlocs, you're playing neutrals.
Obviously.
But even outside of that, like traditional like zoo-based decks and stuff like that, you always tend to pull in and fill out your extremely lean curve with neutral minions. And so that I find, I think this is definitely slower, especially considering that the 7/7 is just a 7/7 the turn you play it, especially if you're playing it on curve. And if you're playing at 10, you're hoping that one of those random cards you have is something you can combo to actually affect the board in some way.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. It's interesting. It makes my brain want to find cool things.
Yeah. This to me is like the poster child for a card that is just so powerful in a vacuum, just like it stands so strongly on its own merits that I just start thinking of how do I make this card work? So so my review would be, I think this is another expansion or two away from being an archetype, but what a start. I'm very interested. Please keep trying to make this work. This just isn't guaranteed to win you the game, is really at the end of the day. And I think if we're trying a whole new archetype, I don't know. I think we need a kind of a guaranteed, like a game plan. What's our game plan? Because right now this is just, what's your game plan? I don't know, value. And that's a solid plan to have. But still, love this card. Very interested to pursue this new this new archetype. And let's go ahead and just move right into talking about Lightforged Zealot while we're on this subject, because it's a 4-mana 4/2 rare Paladin minion with a battle cry that reads, if your deck has no neutrals, equip a 4/2 True Silver Champion. Yes. I might be more excited for this than I am Lightforged Crusader, because I like guaranteed rewards and knowing what they are and knowing what I can do with them. I've already been happily paying 4 mana for my True Silver.
Well, exactly. It's like getting a 4/2 body alongside your true silver champion, right? As long as you meet this build around condition. And I don't know. I feel like if I'm building any sort of a paladin deck, I'm maybe looking and seeing like, do I only have like 2 to 4 neutrals? Are they worth taking out in order to swap in these Lightforged cards? Because I mean, yeah, like an extra 4/2 body alongside my true silver champion seems really good. That is something I want. Yes, please.
Yeah. Same. I like this card a lot. Again, so both these, the Lightforged Crusader, the Lightforged Zealot, I don't think anything else has piqued my interest so much. Obviously, giant Paladin fanboy. Hi, my name is Garrett, everyone. But this is just so cool. We haven't been asked to not include neutral cards for some sort of cool reward in the past. It also happens to be in my favorite class, so I am very into these two. But at the same time, not quite sure we're there yet. I'm not sure we have enough tools in Paladin alone, at least in Standard, to really make this a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll wait and see. I'd like to be wrong, and anyone out there, all you homebrewers out there, if you prove me wrong, let me know ASAP. I want to know about a deck list that makes this work right now, because I want to play it. But let's move on and talk about Skyclaw, because I think this is a card that's going to see play day one. This is a 3-mana, 1/2 rare Paladin mech that reads your other mechs have +1 attack, battle cry, summon 2 1/1 microcopters that are also mechs. Hey, Jocelyn, let me tell you about this archetype that's working just fine already, called Highlander Paladin. And it already runs all the mechs. It runs Mecharoo, Glowtron, Snip Snap, Micro Mummy, Framebot, Replicating Menace, Ziliax, and a Noyo module. You know what? I think Skyclaw will fit in just fine.
Yeah, I think you find room for this one.
It's its first day at school, and it's to go right to the cool mechs table. Right to it. No mean girls for Skyclaw. It's getting right in there. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Now the microcopters are just 1/1 mechs, right? They don't have rush or anything special. They're just 1/1 mechs.
Yeah, just 1/1 mech tokens. But
good, because if they did, that would be disgusting.
They're 2/1 mech tokens because they have +1 attack from Skyclaw.
Yeah, right, exactly. But they can't rush and kill anything, which is what I was worried about.
Yeah, but that's what Magnetics is for, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
That is what Magnetic is for. Watch out for Ziliax, y'all. Sorry, I said y'all. Not really.
It's allowed.
I say it all the time. Yeah. All right. One more Paladin card to talk about today. And it's already up. Why am I scrolling? It's called Righteous Cause. Not a lot. Sorry, reading your notes instead of what the card does. Ha! It's a 1-mana rare Paladin spell. It's a side quest. The side quest is to summon 5 minions. The reward is to give your minions +1/+1. Jocelyn, they gifted me a wild token Paladin side quest for Descent of Dragons. It's so kind of them, because I cannot think of any universe where I want to try and make this work in Standard.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward because it's not a secret, right? So Competitive Spirit basically did the same thing. It was just like, at the start of your turn, do this thing, and it saw play. So this isn't a terrible effect. The only thing is it's not secret. So therefore, there's no mind games with your opponent. Your opponent knows exactly when you're going to get this to happen, which means they can clear the board, unless you're doing it all in one turn, which, like you mentioned, is much, much easier to pull off in Wild.
Yeah,
because there's odd paladins and lots of token generating. There's 1 card effects.
Different ways to do it with 6 mana, basically, in Wild. There's multiple different combinations of cards that can summon you 5 minions in a single turn, alongside Righteous Cause, that will just give you this buff in the same turn. Which is cool.
In chat room saying like, oh yeah, 3/5 of the requirements from Skyclaw. You just said Skyclaw is good. Excuse me, very, very true. But like, your opponent can mess with you. Like, your opponent knows that this is happening and can see your progress because it's a side quest. So I think that unless you're doing it all in one turn, then it's just a 1-mana. It's what is everyone's saying it. Mark of the Lotus. There you go. Then it's just Mark of the Lotus. So you play your Sky Quest, you summon your 5 minions, you get +1/+1. Yeah, sure. Okay, fine. But I don't know, man.
A lot of this, and this goes back to the first time we talked about side quests, which is my big concern with most of these, is when do you find the time to deploy it? And when is it? You don't want really on one? Wouldn't you rather play a minion? There's options, a lot of them now for just getting on board and
it's not
going.
Have 5 minions on board either. It's summon 5 minions, which means like quests, it counts progress, right? So if I put out a couple of minions and then my opponent kills those minions, I then want to be careful what I'm doing with summoning my other minions. And anytime I have to start really thinking about what I'm doing, like, and my opponent's messing with me, I'm just like, oh man, I don't think this is worth +1/+1. Like, I don't want to be worrying about like, oh, if I'm just going to summon 1 minion, I'm not going to get the full value because I've already got 4. So, you know, I've already summoned 4, but I have an empty board right now. Like, I don't know. Seems like my opponent can mess with me too much because it's not secret.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even worried that much about it. Like, with Skyclaw, there's a lot of options for things that you could probably pull off in a single turn. What I think as far as standard is concerned is like, I just don't think it's good enough. I mean, it's +1/+1. If you're not getting it all done in the same turn, it's very unlikely you're going to get this to hit on multiple minions unless it's like a turn you drop a Skyclaw. So I don't know. I'm very skeptical that it's just worth it at the end of the day because there's just so much strength in this set and there's so much strength that already exists in standard Hearthstone that I don't look at Righteous Cause. How many times over the past few weeks have we just gone, holy shit, this card is broken? I look at Righteous Cause.
I was
going to
say, if this was like +2/+2, then we'd probably be having a different conversation. But +1/+1, I don't think that it can happen early enough to be super worth it. And then, you know, if you're waiting to do it on turn, 6, 7, 8, whatever, then does the +1/+1 really matter?
It asks me to have a wide board for maximum value. I would rather pay 4 mana for guaranteed 4/4, and the only ask is I have 1 damn thing on the board.
Yeah.
It's really like I have so many holes to poke in it, and that's going to be my final one for me. So I'd rather just play Blessing of Kings.
Yeah.
So, but I want to mess with it in Wild, even though, well, no, yeah, because I think this will fit into Odd. So who cares? Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's see what we can make happen because you're already doing.
Yeah, I think Wild is a different story.
Yep, I can dig it. Well, let's move into Priest. Do it. Just keep it going. Keep it going. And I'm going to try and pronounce Murazond the Infinite, an 8-mana, 8/8 legendary priest dragon with a battle cry that reads, play all cards your opponent played last turn. So as it reads, really exciting. As it plays is like tests. So I think this kind of stinks.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, oof.
It doesn't copy battle cries, and spells obviously are targeted randomly. I would have assumed that already because we've never seen a card that was actually cool enough to let me target spells I'm stealing or replicating.
Right. So it doesn't do battle cries, which I think is really weird because the writing on the card, I would assume if I'm playing all the cards, playing a card gives me the battle cry effect. So maybe it should just say summon all the cards and cast all the spells that your opponent played. But again, that's a lot of text. But it seems like that's how it works. So I think probably bad. I don't know. In what cases would this be good? And then it relies totally on your opponent, right? So this is something you're just sitting holding in your hand, waiting to play it until they do something that you can copy that's actually worth it. I don't know.
I mean, it's very in keeping with the priest theme of playing with your opponent's cards, right? And like in that way, it's cool. And it is generating value of its own right. The value is a very wide range, though, depending on what's happening over the course of your opponent's last turn. But again, because of the power level of this set, this is a card I look at and kind of go, well, yeah, this sounds kind of crazy, but compared to, I don't know, 40% of the set, it seems kind of not that insane. Just not sure.
Does it copy Galakron's? Chat room wants to know.
That's a very
I would assume,
good
yeah, because Galakron is a card that your opponent would have played, right?
Yeah, so you could become your opponent's Galakron, but would it be the upgraded version if they played the upgraded version? I would imagine so, because again, it does change the form of the card and it
changes the card, yeah.
Yeah.
So they would be playing Galakron, or Azeroth's End, right? As the fully upgraded version.
Test did work that way. I'll notice in the chat rooms pointing out. Yeah, Test did play hero cards. So
yeah.
So in that way, that's cool. So
And I mean, like if you're going up against a mage and then they take a turn 7 to flame strike, and then so you get an 8/8 and a flame strike. I mean, maybe this is
that's a really good. The C4G in the chat room brings up though. Do you care if Galakrond's upgraded because you don't get the battle cry?
Yeah, true.
That's the part that upgrades. That's the part that upgrades, and the 5/2 claw is part of the battle cry.
Is part of the battle cry. Yeah.
So, or is it? It might be the equip might be its own line. That I don't know. Frankly,
I'm not sure.
But so you might get, like, how much do you really care about a 5/2 weapon? I mean, it's not nothing, but there'll probably be. I'm assuming there's going to be multiple games in which Galakron is played, and it is not Galakrond's final form. So you're really just getting the battle cry and the armor in that scenario, which is probably fine. I mean, most hero powers are probably more impactful than a priest hero power if your goal is not to heal your board.
Yeah, the priest hero power isn't the greatest, and the priest Galakron hero power isn't the greatest. So I'd probably want to have any other Galakron.
Yeah,
I think maybe. I mean, if you're playing priest in this expansion, it's because you're trying to do some crazy fun things,
again,
right? So this seems like a crazy fun card.
You're still doing less probably than they just did. If they just played their Galakron and got the battle cry, you're playing an 8/8 and getting a Galakron with no battle cry.
Right.
Depending on how upgraded the Galakron is, I think on average your opponent did more in their turn than you just did.
Probably.
So.
But we're talking about potential fun, Garrett.
I'm just really, if anything, this is my apprehension to Murozond is a glowing like celebration of how completely bonkers Descent of Dragons is. Because I'm looking at a card that says play all the cards your opponent played last turn and going, I don't know if that's enough. But, yeah.
It's too bad it doesn't copy battle cries, because then I think this would be good, and then I think this would be a thing that priests would be trying to do. But without battle cries,
especially with how many dragons I think are
right now.
Especially with how many dragons I think are about to start being played, and most of the dragons' power comes from their battle cries.
Yeah, very much so.
So instead, you're just developing a board of like dragons that just are just like, hey, I'm here. Oh, you wanted me to do something? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's my break.
I'm here, but I'm feeling kind of lazy this turn. I don't really want to do my thing. Okay.
The Hunter Dragon with Rush would be good, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure about this. The more we talk about this one, the more I see chat throwing in curveballs. I'm just like, maybe I didn't think this one all the way through.
Well, I mean, there are definitely going to be good turns taken by other people that you'll be able to copy. It's just, again, like when someone takes the control out of your hands for something that's going to like take up a deck slot and cost you 8 mana. Like, this is something I want to like deploy when I want to deploy it, I guess. You know, an 8 mana 8/8 dragon I want to play when I want to play, not sit there wait for the most possible value. And maybe an 8 mana 8/8 dragon is just enough, you know, to just play, and then whatever the battle cry is just kind of a bonus. But I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Marzan, I'm just going to hit you with a big old question mark. We'll see.
Yeah. Like, I hope he works because he seems really cool, but maybe not.
Also, you might discover him. Who knows? Right? Did the priest have a... Oh, they don't have an explorer card. So never mind. Are they just... I don't think they got any Discover Dragon cards.
Yeah, I think the explorer cards were the good guys, right?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Still think it's weird that priest is the bad guy.
I agree.
They like their dark priest in Hearthstone, which frankly is the coolest of the priests. So I'm not going to... it's not a bad thing. Just still not where my brain goes as a 14-year WoW player. Whispers of Evil is the next card we're going to talk about, I think, somewhere down here. Oh, yeah, it's all comments from here on out. It's a 0 mana common priest spell that reads, add a lackey to your hand. This is the most straightforward, like, vanilla lackey card. And I find it interesting that it's coming kind of at the end of this lackey story.
Yeah, and it's in priest, which if it was in other classes, it would be so busted. But priest isn't really doing stuff right now with lackeys. And so, I mean, you could do some crazy things in wild with Lyra. Like, this is great to combo with her. because it's just a 0 mana spell. You don't even really care about the lackey that you're getting at that point. And I mean, maybe you could do stuff with Pyromancer, but I feel like the Pyromancer combos that we currently have going off are just straight up better than this. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm missing something, but it's just, even for 0 mana, which 0 mana get a lackey, which are all overpowered for their cost. But it's like, if Priest doesn't really give a crap about what lackeys are doing, then do you want to take up a deck slot with this? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat where I'm just like, well, I like lackeys. Lackeys are good. This is what this asks me, lose 2 slots in your deck to get lackeys, which I don't hate. I don't hate that, but at the same time, I'm with you. There's something about this where I'm just going, Priest has made it this far without lackeys. Why would they start now?
Even for free. Yeah. Why would they even want lackeys for free?
Yeah. Well, you still have to pay for the lackey. It's just the generation of lackeys.
Yes. Yeah. But the generation is free. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't see this really working. And I mean, if this was in Shaman or Rogue, it would be disgusting, but it's not. It's in Priest. So I kind of feel like it's meh.
Well, I think it's also the only place this card could exist, because if it was
exactly. Yeah.
It was in those, like, maybe Warrior, actually, frankly, because they kind of got the shaft on decent lackey cards. But yeah, it's the way lackeys interact with the board and can also kind of like push damage later. Like the flexibility of lackeys, they're all things that Priest kind of already does pretty darn well, right? Like the little bit of extra damage that a lackey kind of brings to the table usually isn't, like, that amount of damage wouldn't be a major tipping point for a Priest, because if they're worried about pushing damage, they're worried about probably pushing all the damage in a single turn, versus a Shaman that's kind of getting through with pings here or there, and that 2 damage off that Kobold lackey put me over. And adding health and controlling the board, it's also not really a thing Priests already struggle with. So it almost feels like Priests have already been doing what lackeys bring to the table. Is where my brain goes on why we just haven't really seen anyone chase lackeys in a Priest archetype.
Yeah, so why would they now?
Yeah. And I kill for good. I don't disagree with you. I think Kobold lackey is always good, but does a Priest really care? Or do they already have enough always good going on in their archetypes and new archetypes that may pop out of Descent of Dragons? I don't know. This one just seems strange to me. And my reaction to it feels strange, because I feel like I should be really excited about this card, and I'm not.
Yeah, it's a 0 mana card. Like, you should be excited, but I just don't think even at 0 mana, like, maybe if it refunded you a mana, like, how do you get better than 0 mana, -1 mana to do a thing?
Yeah. Grave Rune is next. This is a 4 mana common Priest spell that reads, give a minion Death Rattle, summon 2 copies of this. This card scares the hell out of me. This is absolute combo potential. I don't have an exact combo in my mind. It only gets like truly terrifying if you have a guaranteed way to kill the minion in the same turn. But if I get out of combo potential, I also just like this card. Like, just in a world where you trade in Hearthstone, and that's not a hard world to imagine, because this is something you could put on a minion right before you trade it, and instant value is generated. And depending on what minion you put it on, you might just continue trading.
That minion could have another Death Rattle too, and then you just, oh man, like there's so much possibility with this card. This card, I think, is exciting, but probably totally busted.
Probably. This is the type of effect that is historically very strong in Hearthstone. Now, granted, it's in Priest, so if you're trying to think of like cute Leroy combos, you need a guaranteed way to kill the Leroy.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily thinking about like game-ending face damage combos. I'm just thinking about like big Priest with res effects and just like grossness, just total and utter grossness. Like big minions before I'm supposed to have them, and then also being able to put a death rattle on them that when my opponent is finally able to deal with it, I get 2 more. Like, ew.
You haven't mentioned cube. You haven't mentioned cube, Joss, and this is basically build your own cube.
I know it is build your own cube.
And actually, it summoned 2 copies of this, so it's kind of worse than cube because it could death rattle summon 2 buffed copies of what you put this on, which is scarier than cube.
Right?
Yeah. And the minion you could put it on in the first place could also just be more impactful than the cube ever was in its own right. So yeah, it's
so Gross. Stop this.
Gross. Give me this card now. I need to make a deck. I don't know what it is, but I need to play around and experiment, and that's. I think Grave Rune is the most powerful priest card that they got this expansion, and I'm a little bit worried about what that's going to look like. Yes. Yeah, I think. Yeah, these are the type of cards where I go, are we is Silence back yet? Are we actually putting the inefficient Silence cards back in our deck? And this is a card that worries me enough to think maybe.
Yeah, chat room saying it summons base copies, not buffs.
Oh. Well, then I hate how they write cards in Hearthstone. I still hate it. It's dumb.
Yep.
That's not what copy means. That is not what
copy means. But still, even without copying buffs, I still think that this has the potential to be exploited in a class like Priest. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Grumble. There's other cards that literally say copy and behave in that way.
I know.
Disciple of Galakron, everybody. Moving on from Hearthstone's lifelong adventures and pissing me off with the English language. It's a 1-mana, 1/2 common priest minion with a battle cry, a very, very simple battle cry that says, invoke Galakron.
Yeah, so I think this would be great in all the other evil classes, but not so much in priest, just because this seems like it's just other classes have a better way to impact the board. I mean, we haven't talked about it yet, but now we've seen the Shaman Galakron version. So that's giving you tokens on the board. You know, you've got the warrior version that allows you to attack with your hero. Like there's just all the other classes seem like they have more potential to make use of a card like this. But in priest, I mean, you're going to play a 1-mana 1/2, which is kind of okay. But your invoke is so random and the range is so big that you might be getting an evoke effect that you can't actually make use of until way late game. Like it's the range is so big because it's all the priest cards, right? You get one of all the priest cards. And I think it's just strictly bad. Like this would be so much better in any other class. Very, very similar to the lackey, the Whispers of Evil that we were talking about. Like it just, they would be better in other classes. I don't know why Priest would ever make use of them. I really don't think Priests are going to build Galakron decks.
I agree. Although, again, like Whispers of Evil, I think would just be busted in basically any other class. This should just be good in any other class. And the only reason you and I don't like this card is because we don't like Priest Galakron.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's another one of these. Well, like if we end up being wrong and Priest Galakron is totally a thing, this is an auto include.
Yes.
So, yeah. So with that in mind, I believe we have a single Lonely Rogue card we haven't talked about already, Jocelyn, and it's called Bloodsail Fly Booter. Where do they come up with these wonderful names?
I don't even know. But 1-mana 1/1 pirate that gives you 2 other 1-mana 1/1 pirates?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm into it. Sure. I mean, I don't know how much... yeah. It's good in Rogue, right? It's just a combo generator. Like, I don't think Pirate Rogue is going to be a thing. There's like literally no other pirate tribe help in this expansion. But it's 1-mana 1/1 that gives you 2 more 1-mana 1/1s. You're a priest. You're a
you're a rogue. Yeah.
You want to combo. So
I don't even think that you care that it has a pirate tag. I think that you just care as a priest that it's a 1 mana play on turn 1, and you get 2 other 1 mana plays that you can play later on to do combo-y things. I don't even think that you care that it's a pirate. I think it's just good.
I definitely care in Wild, where I have a cannon where each one of these 1/1s equals 2 random damage.
Yeah, and there is that other the Cannon 2.0, right? Which I'm not even sure. I think we did talk about it. But no, I'm totally...
But it's a warrior card, so it's irrelevant.
Oh, it's a warrior card. Okay, why? I thought it was a neutral. No, Skybarge is the one that I was thinking about. And we're going to talk about it later today. So that was the thing that was in my head. So it's a warrior card, so forget it. But yeah.
Correct. Yes. So, yeah, I think this card is good. I don't really know how much it makes waves in Standard, frankly, but by itself, I really like it, and it makes a lot of sense in Rogue.
Yeah, I think it does. It's a really good Rogue card. I mean, it definitely could just be your 1-drop in insert Rogue deck here.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so other than that, we've talked about every single Rogue card, which means it's time for Shaman, which there are so many Shaman cards to talk about. Let's take one more quick break before we get into that.
Giving gifts this time of year is awesome, but overspending is not. You can easily find the lowest price on whatever you're shopping for if you have Honey. Honey is a free browser extension that finds the best promo codes available when shopping online. And let's be honest, we all prefer to shop online this time of year. Malls are packed, you can't find a parking space, and then you have to elbow your way through the crowds. On top of that, there's no browser extension saving you money at the mall. I was actually able to save 40% on a dress that I bought for my mom for Christmas, but guys, shh, you can't tell her. And I didn't even have to leave the comfort of my pajama pants. Honey supports over 20,000 stores online, even up here in Canada. So if you're buying gifts this holiday season, you need Honey. And even if you're not, you probably know someone who is, so do them a solid and tell them about Honey. Honey can make sure that you're getting the best price on whatever you're buying. It's free to use and installs in just 2 clicks. You can get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/tack. That's joinhoney.com/tack.
All right, it is Shaman time, and there's so many cards to go through, and it's super sad because I don't get to say Bandersmash unless I just really want to say Bandersmash, because we already talked about Bandersmash. Bandersmash.
I think you even said it wrong that time. I think you said Bandersmarsh.
Yeah, it happens. I was thinking of Stan Marsh. That's what I was thinking of. Galakron the Tempest. We have finally seen the Shaman Galakron. It took him long enough. It's a 7 mana, 5 armor legendary hero card for Shaman with a battle cry that reads: summon 2/2/2 storms with rush, invoke twice to upgrade. And I bet you're also wondering just what in God's name the hero power does. And I'm glad you asked, because I'm seriously asking too, because Hearthstone doesn't show it. And that's what I'm pulling from for cards right now. It's Galakron's Fury. It's a 2 mana activatable hero power that summons a 2/1 elemental with rush. So a whole lot of elemental summoning, because by the way, the 2/2 storms that summon off the battle cry of Galakron, also elementals. Also, you're probably wondering what the heck happens to Galakron the Tempest when you invoke an upgrade. So if you invoke 2 times an upgrade, if you hit the first upgrade, the battle cry will then summon 2 4/4 storms with rush. So the upgrade is happening to the stats of the 2 storms. You're not getting more than 2 storms, which I like. I like a lot.
But it's still a big buff, because I thought it was going to go like 2/2 3/3 4/4. No. We doubling.
We doubling, yeah, because if you invoke 2 more times and you get to Galakron's final form in Shaman, the battlecry summons 2 8/8 storms with rush, and you equip that 5/2 claw that they're all getting. So 16/16 on rush bodies. Hot damn.
Yeah.
I want to be Galakron.
This is a Galakron. Get out of here, priest. We're not playing you. This is a Galakron.
I would really like to say that they're all Galakrons except priest. Yeah. So the exception is priest, where I would go, this is not a Galakron. This is just weird priest things. If anything, it feels... Oh, that's the other thing with the priest one. I'm like, generating random priest spells, or cards, that's a rogue thing, it feels like to me, more than a priest. So I don't know. It doesn't matter. We beat up on the priest Galakron enough. I like this. And this also means that any invoke cards in regards to Shaman, you can read whatever that card does, plus summon a 2/1 elemental with Rush.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you have any elemental buffs going, that's just really cool. Laura Man in the chat room says the priest one is just Gallic wrong. You could name cards for Team 5.
I love that so much. You totally could.
That's fantastic, Laura Man. Yeah, but no, I like the Shaman Gallicron. I like all the Gallicrons except priest is really what this boils down to. And Shaman has kind of sealed that statement for me. This is the first form, the 2/2s like that. You're gonna want to invoke this because that does seem pretty weak.
If you're talking about even on like if you play this on 7, right? 2/2 storms with Rush just feels blah. So yeah, you're gonna want to invoke, but that's not gonna be that hard or that terrible as Shaman. Like Shaman got some pretty good invoke cards.
So let's just move on because I think Gallicron kind of stands on his own. I think it's pretty obvious where the value in this is. That being said, you can't go face, which makes sense. I wouldn't really want a Gallicron to come down and then 16 damage just happening to my teeth. It would hurt. But this seems quite powerful. But let's move on. The next card we haven't talked about is Dragon's Pack. It's a 5-mana epic shaman spell that reads summon 2/3 Spirit Wolves with Taunt. Woo, they're bringing back the Spirit Wolves. If you've invoked twice, give them +3/+3.
So then you're talking about 2 5/6s with Taunt.
These Spirit Wolves
and
have been doing
overload.
They've been doing CrossFit. Those are some really buff doggies, ghost doggies. It isn't great. Yeah, in a way, you're paying for the overload all at once if you don't have the invoke twice.
Yeah, but like I said, the invoking Gallicron is something that shamans are going to do. They're going to want to do. They're going to want to do it quickly. And so by the time you hit turn 5 or 6, you're probably going to be just getting 2 of these wolves with taunt and have no downside coming into the turn after you play it, right?
Well, and it's really important to kind of talk about the value of Dragon's Pack post 5 because first of all, there's a lot of it because you're gonna get 2 5/6s with taunt for 5 mana, so it's already totally fine to cast later on curve, and you might need to because Corrupt Elementalist, another card we haven't talked about yet, is a 5-mana 3/3 rare shaman minion with a battle cry that reads Invoke Gallicron twice. Yeah. So if you play this card, the turn you play, you're going to get 2 2/1s with Rush. In addition to your 3/3, you're automatically, if you haven't invoked it all this game, going to set Gallicron to the first upgraded form. And then if you drop Dragon's Pack next turn, you get your buff doggies all from just playing a single card for 5 mana.
Exactly. Corrupt Elementalist is insane. You get so many stats. So you're getting 7/5 in stats, split over bodies, plus you're upgrading your Gallicron, plus you're like just doing all the other stuff that your deck is going to want to do with the invoke. Like it just, oh man, these two. So if you put 2 Corrupt Elementalists in your deck and nothing else to invoke Gallicron, then you're going to have a fully upgraded Gallicron by playing those 2 cards. Like insane. So good.
Yes. Yeah. Invoke is such a cool. I just love having to constantly think about invoke as being like 5 mana for 3/3. That's not great. Well, wait, I'm invoking twice. Wait, I'm getting 2 2/1 with rushes. Well, you add that on top of a 3/3 body for 5 mana. Yeah, okay. And at 5 mana, like 4 damage worth of rush minions on board. There's a very good chance you're going to get a trade. It's not unrealistic. 4 damage can trade, especially if you're on the play that game. If you're hitting 5 mana first. So it's fantastic. I also like that we're talking about all these invoke cards together because it's making the conversation go a little bit faster on a day where we have all the cards to talk about. So let's get away from invoke for just a second to talk about Storm's Wrath. It's a 1-mana rare shaman spell that reads, give your minions +1/+1, overload 1. Yeah. So what am I thinking of? or you were thinking of Vecina, right? Or Vecina?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because she's the one that when you have overloaded mana crystals, then you give your minions +2 attack.
Yes. So this being cheap overload is worth something with a card that is currently standard playable.
Yes.
And it's going to be, because that was Saviors of Uldum, right? Vecina? Because she was the new snake race from
Sethrak from Battle for Azeroth.
You didn't say it right. It's the Sethrak.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like when
I didn't put 4 S's on the beginning.
Cool. It's just like how you have to add multiple R's anytime pirates are in order.
That I can get behind. But yeah, like there seems to be a lot of powerful overload for shamans in this set. So I don't know if there's going to be some sort of like mid-rangey overload shaman that's going to kind of hit the meta / make a comeback, because overload shaman was a thing a few expansions ago, but it just seems like there's definitely something here. We're going to talk about Squall Hunter in a second, and there's a lot of overloady stuff that I think is just good. I don't know if you make some sort of like Galakron overload deck or if those are two separate things, but I think there's definitely a lot of powerful overload cards that should see play.
Yeah. It's while it seems like a kind of like a low end of the spectrum card in terms of power level, like it's also shaman. Like they're going to be making totems when they have nothing better to do, and totems a lot of times are pretty unimpactful. But if you hit them with a buff, congratulations, all of your totems can now make an attack.
Well, and again, like I feel like this is an example of why the Paladin side quest is really not that great, because this you just play it. You pay 1 mana and you get the buff and you just play it whenever you want. There's no like make sure you've done this thing. So yeah, I think this makes the Paladin side quest that much worse even. Like because it's Storm's Wrath is just good.
Yeah.
And I know class specific, blah, 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 but I feel like it's just this is doing the reward of the Paladin quest for the mana cost without really any conditions other than you're overloading. And we have so many ways to make use of overload now that we never used to, that overloading isn't necessarily a drawback. Yeah.
If you're making sparks and they're getting buffs and they've got rush, wondrous. Absolutely wondrous. Squall Hunters up next. It's a 4 mana 5/7 common shaman dragon. Try saying that 5 times fast. I don't have to say that at least 2 more times today. With spell damage +2, overload 2. So I think this is just straight up another tool for mid-range overload decks. Because, I mean, 5/7 for 4 mana, a lot of stats. That's, in my mind, worth the 2 overload. And I just never pay attention to the spell damage. I'm like, oh, I have spell damage?
I was going to say, it does also technically have 2 spell damage, which in Shaman is not necessarily inconsequential, right? Shaman does have some spells that are seeing play right now. So it's a thing that could possibly come into play.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not as important as the mana cost and the dragon tag.
To me, it's just what the most important thing is here. I'm getting 5/7 worth of stats on turn 4.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. And overload again, as mentioned, typically an upside for Shaman if they're building around it. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, you ready to get back to Invoke? Like some super cheap, dirty and cheap Invoke. I guess cold and cheap Invoke. It's Invocation of Frost. Invoke is even in the name here. It's a 1 mana common shaman spell. It reads, freeze an enemy, invoke Galakron.
Which basically means freeze an enemy, get a 2/1 elemental with rush.
Correct.
So like Glacial Shard, except for the minion also has rush. Now you're not playing a minion. So the reason Glacial Shard saw some play is because of the Shudderwalk synergy, because it was a minion with a battle cry. So this won't actually get activated again if you're going to pair it with Shudderwalk. But otherwise, it's essentially like effectively better than Glacial Shard, which saw play. So
yeah, I mean, typically free spells don't get too excited unless it's attached to Frostbolt, which does the damage, right? So,
but this is attached to a rushing body.
Exactly.
So,
that's what I was working up to is that you're getting a 2/1 rusher. So you get extra control on top of this. So yeah, I like this. If you're playing Galakron, I think you play this, get your invokes in. I mean, between this and Corrupt Elementalist, on top of the fact that there are decent invoke neutral cards, certainly seems very doable to upgrade your Galakron to its full might as a shaman, which I dig.
And chat room as well as forums are screaming Murabi finally. And I'm like, it's still free shaman, still not a thing, guys.
I'm having to look this up. I vaguely remember the card. This was the 6 mana 4/4. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. I mean, yeah. That's. I mean, if you're doing Galakron free shaman, I mean, damn. Like, what do you freeze your own minion if you want it, and then you get a 2/1 for a little bit of control? Like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm there. Elvix, I'm with you. Murabi for Battlegrounds. Let's do it. Let's do it. Although that would be busted because if you freeze your Froze Bob's Tavern, you just get all of it. Just into your hand. That would be so busted. That'd be so insane. So absolutely insane. I think it'd be like, oh, Murabi and Battlegrounds, like 2 mana, freeze 1 of Bob's minions. You get a copy, and then that other copy is still frozen for next turn, so it helps you find triples faster. Huh?
Gross.
Huh? Murabi,
Gross.
Coming to a Hearthstone Battlegrounds near you. There you go. I like Invocation Frost a lot. Let's wrap up Shaman with Surging Tempest, a 1 mana 1/3 common Shaman Elemental. Has +1 attack while you have overloaded mana crystals. I mean, it's 1 mana, so I'm not sure how much Squall Hunter is getting involved here, but yeah, a 2/3 whenever you have overloaded mana crystals. Very doable.
I mean, it's just it's a solid balanced 1-drop, right? So the attack's going to go away when you have overloaded mana crystals. It can't grow out of hand. Like it's a 1/3 or a 2/3 for 1 mana. And I think this just goes in your overload decks. It's just a solid balanced 1-drop. So
yes, and it doesn't grow infinitely. Thank God they're learning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is not going to be your Trog.
Oh God, could you imagine they add another Trog and then what Shaman looks like in Wild? I just want like them to just start releasing sequel cards, just like Trog 2, Totem Golem 2.
Why?
It's just 1 more mana and +1 like I don't know, just so Wild gets stupid. Because I want a Hearthstone deck that's in constructed that's like a Magic deck where I can have like 4 ofs, basically, except they're slightly different. I don't know. Moving on. Surging Tempest, yeah, I think this is, again, another good card. Another solid 1-drop. Yeah. That's actually well made, and I don't think it's going to break the game and make us all go, well, this game is over on turn 1. Which is a good thing. It's
good enough that I think it'll see play, though. So it's not just like, it's not fair and balanced, meaning it won't see play. I feel like this is fair and balanced and will see play because it's got a little bit of an effect to it. So,
well, yeah, and even if it didn't, like a 1/3 for 1 is already good, plus it has the elemental tribe, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm all for Surging Tempest. I'm also all for moving on to Warlock, where we have only 2 cards left that we haven't talked about already. And we're kicking this off with Dark Skies, a 3 mana epic Warlock spell that reads, deal 1 damage to a random minion. Repeat for each card in your hand. So a maximum of 11 if you're doing wild Valdris Felgorge shenanigans.
Yes.
Let's increase your hand size, then you play Dark Skies, and you're down to 11 cards.
You are down to 11 cards, but the deal 1 damage to a random minion happens anyways,
right.
and then repeats. So yeah.
Whatever.
So it is basically your hand size.
We are literally talking about like the best case scenario in terms of getting damage, but this is also a random minion, so it could hit your own minions.
Yeah, but I think it's really good if you're going down a handlock route, because even if you just play this on turn 3, if you're playing handlock, then you're going to have, 7 or 8 damage probably that you're going to be doing on those turns. And you're trying to keep cards in your hand, so you probably don't have minions on board. So if you're coming up against an aggressive meta, Dark Skies is actually probably really good. You're going to be able to play and take down a lot of minions on your opponent's side of the board that are probably going to be low health. And this is going to be great for things like Divine Shield, which Hellfire doesn't really deal with well, right? Because you're dealing 1 damage at a time, which means you're going to like pop shields and then be able to still deal damage to those minions. Like, I think Dark Skies is actually a really, really good tool if you're playing some sort of like handlock style game.
Yeah, and that type of deck too there's usually a lot of reloading the board going on because you're kind of developing large threats 1 to 2 at a time, and if they're being dealt with, the fact that this could hit your own minions may not even be a concern because you may not have minions on board. So you could play Dark Skies and then drop a fat 8/8 boy on the board and say, "What up?" Which is definitely how I talk because I'm the coolest person you've ever met.
Obviously. The other thing too is because of the wording on the card, it's going to be really, really good with spell damage because all of your missiles are going to go from 1 damage to 2 damage, right? So you're going to deal 2 damage to a minion and keep repeating that from cards in your hand. Now, there's a chance you could kill your spell damage dude, but still, you're going to be, this scales extraordinarily well if you can figure out a way to pair it with spell damage.
Hey, listen, as long as you are not me, that probably won't happen. So don't worry. Spell damage away, everybody. Spell damage away. Rain of Fire is the final Warlock spell we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. It's a 1 mana common Warlock spell that deals 1 damage to all characters. So does damage you, which there are some upsides to that.
That's kind of the thing. Like if a warlock who is damaging their hero, if that deck becomes a thing, then this is basically it is the lowest amount of damage you can do to your hero, right? And still be doing damage to your hero because it's going to do 1 damage to you. So if that deck becomes viable, then I think this is pretty good, right?
I think so as well. Although in that case, I don't know. It's like, I almost want Twin Spell on this. Let me do this a bunch of times. It's just 1 damage.
But evil classes don't get Twin Spell, Garrett. That would be too broken. And it wouldn't fit the arbitrary rules that Hearthstone made.
But they're evil. They could steal the ability.
They could steal it.
They don't play by rules. They don't care. In fact, that would have been a wonderful little thing to throw in at the end here. Is just they get an Explorer. It's going to be like the 5th Explorer. It's going to be like Reno without a mustache. The evil Reno. Something like that would have been hilarious, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you pair this with the dragon that they got, right? Zeraku the Warped, that whenever your hero takes damage, you get a 6/6. It's a 4/12, even if it takes 1 damage, it's a 4/11 and a 6/6. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. I think the handlock variant of Warlock is probably going to be great, and that's where I'm going to spend my playtime, but there's probably a Mimi hurt yourself deck that goes places.
I'm going to lure you into a 1v1 challenge saying, hey, I want to try out this new Warlock, and I'm just going to play Q block against you.
Ugh.
That's what I'm going to do.
You're the worst.
You'll never accept a challenge from me again. It'd be like everyone while I'm waiting for an elevator in World of Warcraft Classic, just ignoring my duel for quests, just ignoring them. All right, we're almost out of the classes, Jocelyn. We're on to Warrior.
Yay, we're getting there.
We are getting there. Actually, today's going great. It's a great clip so far. So I'm still feeling energetic. My caffeine hasn't worn off yet. Let's keep going. Let one might say ramming speed, Jocelyn. Let's throw it into ramming speed.
Is he gonna go there? Is he? Yeah, he is.
Yeah. It took me a minute to put for the gears to stop turning in my head, but let's get there. Let's talk about the new warrior spell, Ramming Speed. It's a 3-mana epic. Force a minion to attack one of its neighbors.
Yeah, so people are calling this kind of like a worse Super Collider, and I don't necessarily agree with that because, well, first of all, you can put this and Super Collider in your deck. There's nothing saying you have to pick one or the other. But the thing is that we kind of have to keep in mind with Warrior now is that there is an armor destroying effect in the game, which means the fact that this doesn't actually cost you any health might be a huge upside. So previously with Super Collider, you had to actually run your face into stuff. This is a way to get the same effect without having to run your face into stuff. Might be okay. But the other thing about this card, not only that it doesn't cost you health, is that it can also ignore taunt, which that's like Super Collider's biggest downfall and kind of the way that you play around it, right? Is that you place your taunts in ways that will make it so that you can't get value off of Super Collider. Ramming Speed doesn't care about your taunts. Ramming Speed is going to go after the stuff behind that. So I think that there's something to be said. I don't think this is a strictly worse Super Collider. I think in the possible warrior meta that we might be facing, where warriors can't have a giant health pool because of the anti-armor tech, I think that this actually is a lot better than people are giving it credit for.
I disagree respectfully.
Okay.
I think that was a pretty rosy view, and I don't disagree with everything. Like, getting around taunt to me is pretty much the only upside you just mentioned to me. Because like, I am still, I don't know, I'm not sold on the fact that all of us are putting plate breakers in every damn deck we make day one, and it's going to stay that way from now until the end of time. We all thought bomb decks were going to absolutely ruin and stifle any chance of a Highlander deck, and they just were dead on arrival. You can still play them. There's nothing stopping you, but no one's doing it really. And no one did it for ever, basically, when Uldum launched. So in that way, like, I'm not on the plate breaker guest list, I guess. I'm not signing up for it. That is not getting delivered to my home. I'm not subscribing. So in that way, and also, like, to me, the big thing for Super Collider is the fact that I get 3 charges of that effect once I load that up. To me, that is worth a lot more than, because, you know, if I find ramming speed, rad. I can get around 1 taunt once. If I equip Super Collider,
that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I get I have a lot of ways to I get 3 chances to manipulate the board across 3 turns, and that is worth a lot. Yeah, you also have to wait 2 more turns, but I think it's worth it in my mind. So in that way, I would like to meter like too much love towards ramming speed.
Yeah.
I do think it's a cool spell.
Yeah, no, and like, I mean, I basically, like, I don't necessarily think it's amazing. Like, I'm not going, oh my God, 5-star warrior card. But I do think it's better that, because a lot of people have just been straight up dismissing this card. And I think that it's too early to do that, because I do agree with you. I don't think everyone's going to be running plate breaker tech, but I think that you just have to keep in mind that that's a part of the game now, that it, you know, didn't exist before. So warriors can't have, you know, 100 health. You know, if warriors become super popular and if big armor becomes super popular, then plate breaker is going to rotate into the meta to deal with that. And then once, you know, warriors aren't having big, huge health pools, then I think maybe ramming speed rotates in instead of Super Collider. And, you know, like, it's almost like a tech for tech card. Like, if one thing happens in the meta, then this thing is available so that you don't have to lose health. And it's going to be a big, you know, rotating, changing meta that this is now enabled by, or is enabling. Anyways, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm again going to respectfully
getting hungry.
Now I'm going to respectfully dismiss it, because I am dismissing it, and it's not even because like Super Collider, no Super Collider. This is in Warrior, and they just have like all the freaking removal, and like I'm just like, I don't think they really need this one at the end of the day. But it is another tool, and I could be wrong. So with that in mind, like, it is a very cool trick for sure. So might be freaking Life Drinker all over again, but we'll see. Let's move on to Ritual Chopper, a 2 mana, 1 attack, 2 durability rare warrior weapon with a battle cry that reads, Invoke Galakron. Which so I already forget what
3 attack.
What warrior. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, it's get 3 attack. Okay.
So it's like the first swing of the weapon is 4 attack, and then it leaves behind a 1/1 weapon, basically. I'll allow it. I'll allow it, because warrior can usually pull some shenanigans when they deal any damage to something. Yeah, I think that like this combined with some other stuff that we're going to talk about is just like aggro pirate warrior as all get out. I'm stealing your phrases now. I like aggro warrior. I think I'm the most excited for warrior this expansion. Like, I know everyone, I was just like mid-range dragon paladin, like frothing at the mouth, but like the aggro warrior that kind of popped up right at the beginning of Uldum, as I mentioned, and I'll mention again, I think that's my favorite deck I played this year. Like, it was just so freaking cool. So it looks to be getting a lot of love, and I think it runs Galakron, and I think it has top end, and I think it's terrifying, and I just want to play it. Yeah, I feel like they're going to just run Galakron, not even to ever play the Galakron, just to constantly be getting that +3 attack on your hero. Like, they don't even care if they ever make it to that point in the game. Like, they don't actually want to equip him. They just want to get his invoke effect, I think. I just want extra 3 damage to your face. That's what I want. Yeah, exactly. Like, that sounds wonderful. Absolutely. Like, buff my weapons. Who needs to make it to turn 7 and play Galakron? I just want to hit you in the face. Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I just want like they needed to add a new warrior hero for this expansion. I just want like a brawling Tauren or something. There's someone with like wrapped fists and there's just like bloody knuckles where they're just beating your face in, because I just need something more aggressive looking than Garrosh, who's just kind of sitting there all smug in his throne as I go aggro all up in here. But let's talk about Skybarge, a card that we've already alluded to this episode, and I am very, very excited about. And also, I think wins the most ridiculous art that I want hanging on my wall, because it is a sky ship with roughly 1,247,000 cannons sticking out of it. It's a 3-mana 2/5 rare warrior mech that reads, after you summon a pirate, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So we were talking about ship's cannon earlier. Well, here we are. Here's a warrior ship's cannon.
Yeah, with a little bit higher mana cost, but more health, so harder to kill.
Yeah. And so last week we talked about Ankar, the 3 mana, 2 attack, 3 durability legendary warrior weapon that after you attack, you draw a pirate from your deck. So Skybarge itself, not a pirate, but added value to the pirate package that you are bringing with you because you're running Ankar.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it every time. One of these days you're going to say to Undertaker, because if I have to say Ankar every time, you gotta get on my level, Joss.
Nope. I'll leave that level all to you.
When we hit 400 episodes, like
maybe
it's a long way away. Can we like
maybe it's like a year away, maybe
a little more than a year, but yeah. I love this card because I love Ankar. I was really happy about it last week. I want to do aggro warrior things. And as I mentioned last week, just with Ankar, and by the way, we have a new pirate that's warrior specific to talk about today that is also, I think, a good card. But just with the pirates that are currently standard playable, I was excited about Anchor. I'm just going to say Anchor for my own sanity at this point. And then Skybarge, like I love ship's cannon. Before Battlegrounds came in, Jocelyn, do you know what I did when I was bored with Standard Hearthstone? What did you do? I just went and played Pirate Rogue in Wild. That's all I did. I just dropped pirates and watched my cannon hit random things and laughed. That was my favorite thing to do in Hearthstone when I was bored with Standard. So the fact that I can now do it in Warrior, and I'm pretty sure there is an aggro warrior that works with a small pirate package, and Skybarge goes in that because it's a 3-mana 2/5, so why not? Yeah, it's aggro. Maybe I want a little more damage in the favor of Skybarge, but this effect is so powerful, I'm glad it has a lot of health. I want it to stay on the board.
Well, that's the idea, right? You want it to stick. You don't necessarily want it to have more attack damage because, you're going to swing it at the person's face, but you want it to stick around so that all the pirates that you're going to be summoning are going to be dealing 2 damage to random things on the other side of the board. So, and you talked about the new pirate that we're getting, the Sky Raider. It's not even just that one. There's also a neutral as well that it pairs really well with. It's like patches, but from your hand. It's the parachute brigand that we're going to talk about soon. So
yeah, we'll get into neutrals, but we can go ahead and move right into Sky Raider if you want. It's a 1-mana 1/2 common warrior pirate with a battle cry that adds a random pirate to your hand.
Right. So you're going to get more pirate synergy. You're going to get more gas to this whole pirate mechanism that you're going to be wanting to do in your aggro warrior. You're not going to have to worry necessarily as much about card draw, which aggro decks are meant to be a weakness, because you're going to have something that's going to have some synergy with what you're trying to do be added to your hand. So I think Sky Raider is a great card.
Yep. Also great art. Someone was watching How to Train Your Dragon and I support it.
Yeah. So, and if you're playing this on turn 1, then like I mentioned, the Parachute Brigand basically is a 2/2 that pops out of your hand when you play a pirate. So, if you can get a 1/2 and a 2/2 on board and another pirate in your hand on turn 1, man, that's good.
Yeah. Or post Skybarge, if you're doing that, suddenly now a 1-mana 1/2 and a 2/2 that deploys itself have a lot more added value post turn 3. Because of the 2 damage to a random enemy brought on by Skybarge. This is so my jam, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really fun.
Yeah,
I think the whole ladder is just going to be pirate warriors again, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I've always had a very strange affinity for ship's cannon and Wild. I love it. And so I'm very into this. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. But before I move on to neutrals, let's talk about Awaken. It has an exclamation point, so I have to yell it. It's a 3-mana common warrior spell that reads Invoke Galakron. So get your +3 damage to your hero. Deal 1 damage to all minions. So whirlwind effect. So 3 damage, 3 attack to your hero, plus a whirlwind effect. Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of okay. I mean, some people have been comparing this to Swipe because all minions are going to take 1 damage, and then you're going to be able to direct 3 towards 1. So, you get that 4 damage to 1 minion, 1 damage to everything else sort of thing. But it does target all minions, so it's not just your opponents. Your hero takes damage when you hit that minion, and you can't ignore taunt. So it's not like, oh my god, warrior just got a 3-mana swipe. There's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, that being said, like the current popular aggro warrior is running things like Rampage and other sort of like Enrage synergies, things just like Red Man Wasp, for crying out loud, where the synergy is just that thing is on board and took damage. Holy crap, it has 3 +3 attack now. And I really do think we're just going to see some kind of weird mix of the current aggro warrior archetype and slotting in maybe Ankar and Pirates, maybe Galakron, maybe all of it. I'm not too sure. I'm just so excited about the thought of an aggro warrior. But I like Awaken certainly feels like it has a home in the current aggro warrior. So if nothing else, I think we take Galakron, fit it into the current aggro warrior archetype, and Awaken definitely gets put in that deck.
I thought it was a little bit expensive, but I think because the warrior invoke is allowing your hero to do 3 damage, we couldn't really get a super cheap invoke card. Otherwise, warrior would have just been super broken. So right. I get why it's costed where it's costed, but yeah, I kind of wish it was 2 mana. It would probably be broken at 2. I don't know.
I agree. And it sets you up for execute if we find some type of control Galakron, which I also don't think is off the menu, because this is the thing, I have to start checking myself in the statements I've made. So it's like, if I don't believe in Plate Breaker, then I think there's a world for Control Warrior. It just depends on how strong it gets. Like if Control Warrior absolutely takes off, then we're going Plate Breaker and it's going to kind of self-correct. But again, I am just looking at Aggro Warrior. Right now they're running 4 weapons. They're running 2 Live Wire Lances and 2 Arcanite Reapers. They part of their game plan to kill you is already just swinging. So if you're doing, say you only find 1 Live Wire Lance, if you're doing 4 damage over 2 turns, well, congratulations, you're not doing 10 damage over 2 turns if you're invoking. So yeah, I'm pretty damn amenable to Awaken because it could also open up potentially even further synergies. There's just a lot of upside with the current aggro warrior list, and I think it's very much worth looking into. So I've never been this excited about warrior in my life. I don't know what this feeling is. I don't know what this is like. What am I experiencing? Here we find ourselves, and so that's the end of warrior, and that means we're done with class cards. So let's get into neutrals.
Hooray!
And I did leave myself a breadcrumb trail of how to go in ascending order of rarity. So we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here to the commons, and we'll work our way up to epics because we have already talked about all of the neutral legendaries.
Nice. We did it.
So yeah, except apparently I wrote this in a very strange order. Why did I do this to myself? Why? All right. We're going to be jumping around a little bit. Bear with us, folks. We're going to talk about Evasive Chimera, 2 mana, 2/1, common neutral beast with poisonous, and it can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this week, and I haven't really thought about this, Jocelyn, but the fairy dragon effect of can't be targeted feels not as important as it used to be because of how much rush there is in the game now.
Yeah, that's kind of true. For a second, I thought you meant that can't be targeted by spells or hero powers needs to be a keyword, which I still think it needs to be a keyword. Agreed. I think there's enough of them in the game now that it needs to be a keyword. Could literally just be evasive.
Yes, but, actually, that's a really good point. I don't stand their aversion to keywords, but whatever the case is, yeah, it was an interesting thought. I think I first saw it on competitive HS, and then I saw it thrown around on Twitter a few times, and I'm like, I hadn't really thought about that. But yes, I think can't be targeted has the value of that has gone down over time as more and more rush has been added to the game, because it was always the case that it wasn't worth that much if you were dealing with weapons, because they could just target it with a weapon. But now you've also got minions that can attack this turn because they finally figured a way around charge. It's called rush, and they've added a lot of them to the game.
Yeah, and I think that, it's getting to the point now that instead of can't be targeted, these things start to need rush, right? So get rid of can't be targeted, and instead, if this was like poisonous rush, this would be amazing. Basically, it's just like a removal spell.
Yes. Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, as far as standard is concerned, I'm not super into Evasive Chimera.
No.
It's an okay arena minion. This is something I will definitely take some times and not be super mad about. But let's move on and talk about Firehawk. And some of these neutrals we're going to move through pretty quickly because some of them are the basic. As someone might say, someone cooler than I. Firehawk is a 3 mana, 1 attack, 3 health. What did I say that? I say 1/3. Move on, Garrett. Let's get through this. Common neutral elemental with a battle cry that reads: gain +1 attack for each card in your opponent's hand. So, like, I would say a little bit of like handlock hate, but they've probably got a way to deal with 3 health.
Yeah, so the health doesn't grow, the attack does, but that means that maybe you're going to bait out some removal, or like, I'm thinking basically if anyone's going to play this, it's going to probably be either Shaman or Mage, right? They're the ones that have any kind of elemental synergies. And I don't think this is necessarily bad, because if you're playing this on turn 3, then you're probably going to get, 3 or 4 attack on this. So you're getting something with a decent amount of attack on it to trade with something with a little bit higher health, like say, I don't know, that the Warrior 2/5 you maybe don't want to stick on board forever. Yeah, I don't know. This is a big maybe, but I mean, it's an elemental, so that's something. I
don't think this gets the deck slot.
I was trying to make an argument for it, but
I don't think it gets the deck slot.
I was stretching. I know I'm stretching.
Again, like in arena, probably it's a good chance it's going to be at like a 3/3 or better in a lot of scenarios, so that's okay. But even if I'm looking at elemental synergy, I think I've got better tools I can slot in here. So Hippogriff is next. Have we really gone this long in Hearthstone without getting just a base ass Hippogriff as a minion?
I guess so.
Huh. All right, cool. I always like the Hippogriffs. It's a 4 mana 2/6 common neutral beast with rush and taunt. It's an odd pairing.
Yeah, you don't often get rushing taunts because you want the taunts to stick around, right? So attacking with them, even if they have big health, then they become less effective potentially at their job. But, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Now we have it.
It's health heavy, so it does make sense for what the card is. What you would like to do with the card is a very good chance it will survive whatever it runs into. Although at 4 mana and 2 attack, it's not a good chance that it'll kill whatever it runs into.
But it'll smack it.
It will. It will smack it real good.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a Devo reference. That's not the lyric. Anyways, I don't think this is a particularly great card. Hunter might be able to make something weird happen with it, and they may just discover it or find random beasts every once in a while. So you might have to deal with it, but I don't think this is getting a deck slot anytime soon.
Same.
Cool. Gobbo Glide Tech. Because it's been a while since we've had a particularly odd named card. It's a 3 mana 3/3 common neutral minion with battle cry. If you control a mech, gain +1/+1 and rush.
But it itself is not a mech.
It is not. And frankly, I go, well, you're not a terrible card, but in the grand scheme of mech synergy, this is pretty low power.
Mm-hmm.
We just move on.
I mean, Rush is, Rush is good, but I don't know if you'd have to build like basically like a mech deck. Like this might have found its way into like old school Mech Mage, but Mech Mage is not a thing in Wild. It's just not powerful enough. So if we could recreate the GVG meta, then sure, this would probably find a spot in a Mech Mage deck. But
I don't think I agree with that because GVG was busted, and I don't think this is. I don't think this is that big of a deal. Maybe. Maybe.
3 mana, 4/4 with Rush.
Do you remember the crap you were doing with Mech Warper? Do you remember, Jocelyn?
Yeah, that's
You don't
true.
need 3 mana. Why play 3 mana when you can pay significantly less mana for mechs that do busted things because we had piloted Shredder?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Granted, never happened to me because when I played Mech Mage, I just drew backwards and lost every game. But that's me. That's me.
But I didn't.
No, you didn't. You went on a tear with Mech Mage back in the day. Gyrocopter is next. It's a 6 mana 4/5 common neutral mech with Rush and Wind Fury. Arena card. Moving on.
Yep.
Living Dragon Breath. 3 mana 3/4 common neutral elemental. Your minions can't be frozen. You alluded to this last week, Jocelyn, as some amazing flavor, but probably a bad card. And I agree with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always kind of wondered how, because there's a lot of like elementals and stuff in the game that are, or like fire mages and stuff like that, but they're like literally like made of or wielding fire. And I'm just like, how are these minions able to be frozen? It doesn't make any sense to me. So now we actually have a minion made of fire that will protect all your other minions from being frozen. I don't think there's enough freezing in the game to ever run this card, but I love the flavor. I'm on board.
I mean, if you really are hurting for elementals to fill out your elemental deck, you know,
Maybe?
it's a mild upside with Shaman invoking and freezing.
Like maybe, but even then, like you have one targeted freeze from Shaman, right? Like this isn't even like this isn't even like Mage freezing the entire board with like Frost Nova or Blizzard. Like I wouldn't even play that if every single opponent was Frost Nova-ing me.
You went to bat for ramming speed. I'm gonna make one little push for Living Dragon Breath, but it's really just because I love the flavor of this card design so much. It's Living Dragon Breath, and your minions can't be like, that's really cool flavor in the way that the card works, not just flavor in terms of art or flavor text.
No, totally.
Probably not.
It's a cool card.
Probably not. Yeah, cutting it. Probably not cutting it. Tasty Fly Fish.
This guy's adorable.
He's great. He's such a good boy. 2 mana, 2/2 common neutral Murloc. Death Rattle. Give a dragon in your hand. +2/+2. Despite how much I love the art and the entire flavor of this, because it is a Murloc on balloons covered in food, so they're trying to get the dragon to eat it. Like, again, you're trying to win me over. I like this card so much in flavor and art that I want to go put it in your deck, but it's probably not a standard card. I don't see this ever going into a standard
He's
deck.
so tasty.
Yeah. Blazing Battle Mage is up next. 1 mana 2/2 common neutral minion. That's it. We actually got a vanilla minion, and it's technically power creep because this is neutral.
Technically, but I mean, what are you going to use it for? Like, technically, it's a power creep, but if you can't actually put it in any decks because you can't find the deck slots because it doesn't do anything or synergize in any way with your stuff, then is it really power creep? Does it matter?
If you just started playing Hearthstone and you're so hard up for cards, you're putting Wisps in your deck, Wisp is 0. I don't know, man. It's just interesting to see a vanilla card, and that's it. That's the only vanilla minion we got in this set.
Yep.
Blazing Battle Mage, I believe, is next, because we already talked about. Oh no, we didn't talk about Parachute.
Blazing Battle Mage is the one we just did. So Parachute is next. So this is the one that we talked about or alluded to with Warlock. So it's a 2 mana 2/2 pirate, and it reads, after you play a pirate, summon this minion from your hand. So it's Patches-esque, but instead of pulling it out of your deck, it pulls it out of your hand. So not quite as powerful as Patches was or is over in Wilds.
I like this, and as excited as I am about Warrior and Anchor and the Sky Barge and all that, I don't know about this one. It's interesting, right? Because Anchor is going to come on.
I think this goes in your pirate deck.
It's going to come online later in the game, and without Sky Barge.
Unless you mulligan for it really, really hard. Like, I think that's probably the play, right? Is that you mulligan for your 1-drops and for your Parachute Brigand, whatever.
Brigand, I think.
This card, you mulligan for this really, really hard. And what you're trying to get is like a really, really powerful turn 1, turn 2 type play that involves pulling a 2/2 out of your hand for free.
And then there is added value later on if you're rocking the Sky Barge. Okay.
Yeah.
You sold me.
So, I think this definitely goes in a Pirate Warrior deck.
I dig. Evasive Feywing. There's that word again, but it's not in the text of the card. 4 mana, 5/4, common, neutral dragon, can't be targeted by spells or hero power. That is it. It's basically a chunky fairy dragon.
Yep.
And the art reflects that.
I think this is the kind of thing that you'll find sometimes when you're discovering dragons or getting random dragons and stuff, but he's not a deck slot.
Exactly. Like, it's not a total bummer if this is the best choice when you're discovering dragons.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. But if you want to talk about chunky dragons, let me talk to you about Big Ol' Whelp, which reminds me of my dog Zelda. She might be overeating right now, and we need to do something about it. It's a 5 mana, 5/5 common neutral dragon with battle cry, draw a card, and this is probably my favorite art in the entire set because it reminds me of my Chihuahua.
This art is pretty adorable too, and so this is basically just the 5 mana 4/4, like rotated to the Hall of Fame. Why am I blanking on this so hard?
Oh, the Azure Drake.
Azure Drake, thank you.
Spell damage as well.
Yeah, but no one ever used the spell damage, so this is just
Mages did.
No one ever used the spell damage. So
Shamans did. It was literally used by basically every class. So pick a class that has a damage-based spell, and sometimes they got use out of the Azure Drake spell damage.
But they weren't using that at all. So this is just good. This is just good.
Yes. Big Ol' Whelp it's guaranteed draw for your dragon decks. Like, what's not to like here?
Yep.
It's got the dragon tag. It replaces itself, though not guaranteed with a dragon. So there's like, if I had to find something to like put a tiny little ding in, like someone lightly nudged your car with their car door, like that small of a ding, maybe that's it, but it still draws a card at the end of the day. So I like Big Ol' Whelp a lot, and I think this is going to find a home in a lot of dragon decks.
Yep, I think we're going to see a lot of this guy.
Mm-hmm. Scale Rider is up next. I'd like to call this SI7 Rider because it's a 3 mana 3/3 common neutral minion with Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, deal 2 damage. So it's like a dragon SI7 agent that is not in and of itself a dragon, but has dragon synergy on a Battle Cry. This seems good, Jocelyn, but also there's just so many crazy freaking cards in this set.
I think that's kind of the problem with a lot of these cards, right? Is it's just like, this seems really cool, or this seems decent. And it's like, decent isn't going to be good enough, which is crazy.
Yeah. There's so much good dragon synergy, and this is fine. I don't think it's good enough. I think this is good if you're like a budget player though, and you've like got enough powerful dragon cards that you found in however it is you're going about getting your cards, whether you've set yourself a very strict limit of how many packs you're going to buy, or you're just getting it slowly over time through daily quests and arena. This is a cool card to have, because this is definitely one of those things where when you type that tweet of, hey, I'm missing such and such card in this deck list, what would be a good something to sub in, the answer might end up being Scale Rider if you're working on a dragon deck.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still some decent power if you're running dragons. But I don't think that's what's going in. And I do not know what's going on in the chat room right now, but apparently I missed something funny.
No, I just we're just talking about Azure Drake versus Big Ol' Whelp, because they're saying that there were plays that were enabled by the spell power, and I was like, yeah, but you never built your deck around that. That was not the point that I was making. The point that I was making was spell damage on Azure Drake was an afterthought. Every class included it because it was decently statted and it drew you a card, and that's why it got Hall of Famed. It didn't get Hall of Fame because of spell damage. Tyrant's just being nitpicky.
I think they're messing with you a little bit.
Yeah.
By the way, we've spent the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks being pretty dismissive of spell damage in general. So it's kind of a thing here on the Angry Chicken. Welcome, everyone. Evasive Worm is next. The 6-mana 5/3 common neutral dragon with Divine Shield, Rush, and can't be targeted by spells.
We should just stop saying that. We should just say it has Divine Shield, Rush, and it's evasive. We'll just make our own keyword.
We're going to do it. We're going to go pick it next BlizzCon with evasive. Should make evasive a keyword and bring back Enrage.
Yes. They let you draw your own signs at BlizzCon, so I'm going to do it.
Hey, ho, ho. Enrage doesn't need to go. Of all the evasives, I like this one the most. Holy Arena Batman is definitely the first thought to my mind. I think it's on the cusp of good enough for constructed dragon decks.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that situationally you will pick it off of a Discover. I'm not 100% sure if I actually put this in a dragon deck. It's good, but like you say, it's kind of like on the cusp there. So I don't know if it's like worth a spot, but I feel like situationally I'll pick it because I'm going to need some sort of removal. So it's like, it's so close.
I could see this making its way into some classes that maybe didn't get as powerful dragons as some of the others that are trying to make a dragon archetype work.
Right, because we do know that 7 makes a package, so.
We do, yes. There's a lot of talk about how big a package should be.
Yeah, 7.
In the last month of the Angry Chicken. 7 is the answer, yes. Yes. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it as 6 mana for 5 damage to a minion, like 5 targeted damage to a minion, with the caveat of can't go around taunt, all that stuff.
Right, but it leaves a body behind
a 5/3
too, right?
body that has to be interacted with through a weapon or a minion. That's pretty damn good. And if it's sitting in your hand, is going to trigger dragon synergies. So, this for me, it's teetering. And it depends on the power level, I think, of your class-specific dragons, whether or not this finds a home in your actual deck list and not just through Discovers. So, I like this card. But I don't think it's just universally good. Wing Commander is next. And no, I'm not talking about the old-ass video game. I'm talking about a card called Wing Commander. It's a 4-mana 2/5 common neutral minion that has +2 attack for each dragon in your hand.
And it's not a battle cry, because that's what I assumed it was at first. It's just like you play this card, it gets the bonus, but this card's attack is going to fluctuate based on your hand, right?
Yes, in theory, if it survives, which 5 health, pretty decent chance. The next turn, or even in the same turn, if you played like a draw card or a Discover Dragon, it could be the attack could manipulate in real time. It's essentially like an aura effect, right? Unless Wing Commander is silenced, it's going to have +2 attack, plus or minus depending on how many dragons are currently in your hand. So as you play dragons, it's going to go down. As you gain dragons, it's going to go up. And that's pretty freaking cool. I lean towards liking this card. When I was like looking around the community and seeing people discuss it, I feel like people got a little too excited because I'm like, it's 5 health is good, but it's not that good. It's not impossible to deal with a 5 attack minion. But also, I think that's a boon to it. If we are having a conversation around this could be a serious threat that does bait out removal, that's a point in its corner. So
I think you have to have a lot of dragons though, because Mike Lowe in the chat room is saying Yeti, and that's true. If you have 1 dragon in your hand, then you're basically just playing a Yeti. So I mean, you do have to have more than that in your hand to make this worth it, I think. And depending on how crazy you go with dragons, like I think you got to have a lot more than just a standard size dragon package in order to actually make this a big enough threat that you have to remove it.
Yeah. The other thing though, the other place my brain goes is like looking at what the competition is at 4 mana for dragon decks right now. And there's not a ton of competition. Like for Shaman, it's up against Squall Hunter, which I think just instantly wins because that's just a guaranteed 5/7 on 4 if you've got it. And then Priest is a guaranteed 3/6 on 4 that reduces hand cost by 1 if you've invoked twice, and that's the Fate Weaver. And so in those 2 cases, I think it's like you definitely would want those instead of Wing Commander. And Paladin, you have no Stormbolt. You have a 4 mana 8/8 that everyone's freaking out about. So, but again, it's like I'm leaning towards liking this, but it's also in and of itself not a dragon. So, and you're right. For it to really be scary, you need 3 dragons in hand.
Yeah,
and that's a lot. Like we've played dragons. We've been in Hearthstone long enough to have been through dragon metas in the past. And the scariest thing with dragon decks is not having a dragon in your hand. And most dragon decks are really freaking stoked if they have just one in their hand at any given time. And if that's the case, and that's how dragon decks continue to feel in this new dragon meta we're about to shift into, Wing Commander is just going to be a Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
So unless dragon
package is okay, but like why if we haven't played Yeti in years, why would we play it now?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not okay actually anymore. 4/5 4 is not okay and constructed. It's not good enough. And so unless the dragon package gets a lot bigger than we think it's going to, I'm not completely in Wing Commander's corner. So
yeah.
Troll Bat Rider, 4 mana 3/3 common neutral minion with a battle cry that deals 3 damage to a random enemy minion. Rad, cool, arena.
Mm-hmm.
Solid arena card. Let's scroll up to rare because I got weird in the notes. Faceless Corruptor, where you at, buddy? You're next up. All right, there you go. You're a 5 mana 5/4 rare neutral minion with rush and a battle cry that reads transform one of your minions into a copy of this. Yeah, it's kind of a pseudo build your own Oasis Surger. I like that. I like that a lot.
I can see that.
Not dead on the money, but pretty damn close.
But if you're playing anything that's kind of like tokeny, then maybe not maybe not Druid because you very specifically want treant tokens. But I mean, if you're making totems and Shaman or, anything that's going to be putting things on the board, even your, even Paladin, right? Like anything that's going to be putting something on board, all of a sudden that can become a 5/4, or if one of your minions is about to die, it can just, attack into something or hit face and then become a 5/4 with rush. I don't think this is terrible. I think this is going to have some really interesting applications.
I agree. I think this just goes into Shaman decks because why the hell wouldn't you want this in here? And even if Tree and Druid, I don't mean, how often are your treants really going to be better than a 5/4 with rush? I think there's going to be a lot of points over the course of a Tree and Druid game where a 5/4 with rush is better than anything you currently have on board. Even if it loses that treant tribe, which it will, because it'll become a copy of Faceless Corruptor.
It'll be whatever that is, whatever that tentacle face situation is.
A faceless one.
Yeah. That's what it will be. Not a treant anymore.
Yeah, I think this is a supremely strong neutral because we're just getting excited about turning something else into a 5/4 with rush. You're still getting another 5/4 with rush on top of that when you play this card.
Right, so exactly.
The worst case scenario is you don't have something on board and it's just a 5/4 with rush, which isn't the best. It's certainly not the best thing in the world, but it's still a 5/4 for 5. It's got rush. Not the end of the world. You can still probably get something done with that because the attack is the stats are in favor of attack with rush. That's really what you want. So I think it's a phenomenal, one of the better neutrals we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So Faceless Corruptor, big fat freaking thumbs up. From me, Dragon Mob Poacher is next. 4 mana 4/4 rare neutral minion with battle cry. If your opponent controls a dragon, gain +4/+4 and rush. A little bit of interesting dragon hate there. I mean, an 8/8 with rush for 4 mana. It's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts.
It's going to deal, like, a lot of the dragons are either 8/8s or 4/12s, right? So you're either going to straight up trade and just deal with it, or you're going to leave an 8/4 on board after you've attacked into their 4/12, leaving them with a 4/4. So, I mean, that's much more manageable than a 12 health dragon. So maybe again, this is really going to depend on how prevalent dragons are going to be, right?
Yeah, in the world of hate cards, I like this one probably the most of everything we've seen in this expansion in that regards. It doesn't have a tribe, which I kind of wish it did, because it would be nice if certain classes that tend to favor certain tribes could find a little more guaranteed value out of Dragon Ball Poacher. But at this point I'm splitting hairs. I do like the design of this card as a tech card. So I'm
too.
I'm into it. We will have to see just how rampant dragons are, which is going to answer whether or not Dragonmaw Poacher is going to see regular play or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get back to Specialist in any season next year in competitive Hearthstone, I bet you we're going to see a Dragonmaw Poacher or two.
Yeah, I'd really like to know what their plans are for esports next year, because I feel like if Specialist does make a return, and actually I was talking a little bit about this with people on Twitter, this expansion does feel very much like it was geared towards Specialist, or would have done well, and Specialist would have done well if an expansion like this had launched alongside of it, because there does seem to be a lot of kind of interesting tech and stuff that you can do in this expansion. So I definitely think that, you know, I wish that they would tell us that what they're going to do next year, because I think Specialist in a world with Descent of Dragons could be pretty interesting. So I want to know.
Yeah, I do too. Horde Pillager is next. It's a 4-mana 4/2 rare neutral pirate with a battle cry that reads equip one of your destroyed weapons. And I'm kind of excited for this card, but I'm not.
Yeah, this card's really cool.
I'm not as excited as I would like to be, because Warrior doesn't have a weapon tutor, right? They don't have a way to guarantee draw a weapon from their deck, so we can't just keep re-equipping Ankar and just then tutoring out pirate. Like, it would just be this cyclical tutor nightmare if Warrior could do that. But if you're putting this in your Warrior deck and you don't find your Ankar, oof.
It also has really good aggressive stats though, right? So if we're talking about aggressive pirate warrior, I think that this gets included, right? Because then yay, you get weapons back, but you know, it's also a pirate, it's also aggressive. So yeah, I think Horde Pillager is gonna get some spots in that aggressive pirate warrior.
Yeah, I think so too. I just really want to get cute with just infinite Ankars.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Like, and I can't guarantee it, but you're right. Like, the deck probably just runs a couple other weapons, and this is just fine by itself, whatever weapon you hit. And if you hit Ankar, rad.
Yay. Yeah.
Freaking rad. But maybe you just want an Arcanite Reaper to just 5 damage to the face. Oh, did you also somehow make Galakron work because this is the most insane archetype ever? Sweet. But yeah, it's interesting. That's a good in Rogue if you use Hero Paris as White King. Yeah. But just wait for King's Bane. Just be patient, because you can tutor out of King's Bane and Rogue and Wild.
Yeah. Well, yeah. King's Bane is in Wild.
Yeah. Haven't had to say this word since Wrath of the Lich King. Utgard Grapple Sniper is up next. A 6-mana 5/5 rare neutral minion with battle cry. Both players draw a card. If it's a dragon, summon it. Hi, my name is Garrett, and I like high rolls.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't like this card that much, but the high roll potential is pretty freaking high. Obviously. It's just that, God, like all the dragons, even Ysera in this expansion, this version of Ysera finds her power through battle cry. And that's basically true of every freaking dragon in this set. Nosdormu, arguably the exception, because if you summon Nosdormu with Utgard Grapple Sniper, you would get the 8/8 and you would not set everyone to 10 mana, but you're also, this is 6 mana as opposed to 4, so you're missing out on a certain amount of the attraction to Nosdormu, which is developing an 8/8 on turn 4.
Right, yeah. Is an 8/8 on turn 6 really a power swing? Which, how are we even having that conversation?
Right, but I think it is. Yeah, it is, especially alongside a 5/5. I'm not arguing that, but that's like super high roll territory. Most of the time, like, think of a realistic scenario of this card. You're playing it in a dragon deck. That deck has more than one dragon, and you better, because you're going to need to draw cards anyway, because you want to up your chances of even getting added value out of drawing a card, right? But you're going to be missing out on that battle cry value. And so is a 5/5 plus whatever just a naked statted dragon is that worth it for 6 damage over just playing out your dragon deck kind of as intended, getting value along the way through your battle cries? I'm not so certain that it is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're not trying to snipe your own dragon. What if you're trying to snipe your opponent's dragons and deny them their battle cries?
Boy, that's
even a high rollier.
Boy, I'm going to ignore those emails like I ignored any I won with Gnome Ferratu stories. I'm like, congratulations, you got lucky. It's still a bad card. Like, oh, yeah. I mean, you're right. It's a chance that could happen. And again, high roll wise, like if it's Dragon deck versus Dragon deck, maybe something you get Uranos Dormu and they deploy like the best battle cry dragon in their deck and don't get the battle cry, and you feel like the biggest jerk in the world and also like a total champion. But I mean, sniper is literally in the name of the card. Like you're looking but the thing is that this snipe cuts both ways. So
yeah,
it's I don't know if I don't like this card, but that's me and my personal experiences with randomness in Hearthstone coming into play.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 epics, and then we're done, Jocelyn. And I'm seriously thinking about calling an audible, and we can talk about Battlegrounds next week because we're already 2 hours and 20
I
minutes.
literally just wrote in the notes. I'm like, I need to leave soon. It's almost 7 o'clock.
It is
like,
almost 7 p.m.
go.
here. Yeah, it is insanely late. So, folks, I think we're going to talk Battlegrounds patch next week because while I commend us on how quickly we made it through this many cards,
I know you and I know how much you love Battlegrounds, and I feel like if we start talking about the patch, it's going to be another like half hour, 45 minutes. So
yeah, TLDR on that. Pick Rafam, everybody. Pick Rafam every time. And if you're going against Curator, I don't care what turn it is, use the hero power so you get the Curator's freaking amalgam. It's disgusting. Wormrest Purifier is the first neutral epic we're going to talk about. It's a 2-mana 3/2 battle cry. Transform all neutral cards in your deck into random ones from your class. And this is not just for the memes, Jocelyn. This could be to deal with those pesky bombs or the Hakar Bloods that might be lurking in your deck.
Yeah, so this is the one I was talking about last week, and I can't remember the context of why we brought it up, but yeah, this is really cool and interesting kind of tech, I think, of just like straight up removing any neutral crap that your opponent tries to do. Again, like, especially since it targets bombs, this is another reason why I feel like it would have been super cool to bring this out at the beginning of the year, because, you know, we saw a lot of Hakar, we saw a lot of bombs all earlier on in Specialist, and if you could have had this tech, this is a really interesting talking point and tech to go along with Specialist. So I don't know, man.
All right,
I don't think you play it right now, but it's a cool tech card.
It is. That being said, I would like to call you out for being biased because let's face it, long blonde hair with a crown and purple gems on a blood elf. This is basically Jocelyn in Hearthstone art form.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
If there was ever going to be some bias from the side of Jocelyn, I think it would be towards Wormrest Purifier. So you can't believe anything she's telling you, chat room, even though she's actually totally right. Totally freaking right about all of the ways that this is an interesting tech card.
Yeah. And
then also, it is fun for the memes, so why not? Why not have a little fun with this card? But super cool tech card. I like this. Blowtorch Saboteur is next. A 3-mana 3/4 epic neutral minion with battle cry. Your opponent's next hero power costs 3. And I think that is fair, and I have nothing else to add.
Yeah, and I think that, like, so we've had like turn off your opponent's hero power or turn off hero powers. We've had make it cost more next turn. This is kind of interesting because it's the next hero power regardless of when it happens. So they're just going to have to pay an extra mana for a hero power at some point whenever they're trying to use it. So I think that's a little bit interesting, but I don't think that this is, you know, impactful enough for it to ever see play.
Yeah. And then finally, Grizzled Wizard. 2-mana 3/2 epic neutral minion. Battle cry. Swap hero powers with your opponent until your next turn.
I don't know why you'd ever, like, why?
There's a lot of scenarios I can think of. Like, if I'm against a warrior or a warlock.
Well, like, okay, yeah, dope. I can think a lot of times where I would want it because my hero power would not be as good as my opponent's, but like, I would never take card slots for that. It's way too random.
Yeah.
It depends on who your opponent's going to be. Like, you can't build around this at all.
No, if it had a tribe, I would be actually pretty interested in this card. Like, say it's Elemental and you're like, you're Mage, and you're doing an elemental deck. Cool. Maybe something cool happens.
Yeah.
If something cool doesn't happen, I don't know, play it at the end of your turn if you need your own damn hero power and kind of play around it. But the fact that there's really like no way to eke out extra value out of this through just archetype synergy.
Yeah, it's basically just a 2-mana 3/2 end of story.
Yeah. Outside of like the fun zone, this is like the king of, right? Like,
I am not in the fun zone right now, Garrett. I am not in the fun zone.
This is the king of fun card design, without a doubt. Like in terms of like, do I like this card? Do I think it's fun? Yes, absolutely. Am I putting it in my deck to go try and win ladder games? No,
not at all.
Never. Why? No, definitely not. Definitely not. And I didn't have it in the notes, but I'm pretty sure we haven't talked about Skyfin.
I was wondering that too, because I looked at him and I'm like, I don't remember talking about him, but he's not in the notes, but I don't think we did. So 5-mana 3/3 neutral, epic, Murloc. Battle cry if you're holding a dragon, summon 2 random Murlocs.
Well, I don't think Dragon Murloc is going to be a thing, so
no,
I don't think this card's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it's too many tribes in one card. Like if you're doing Murlocs, you're doing Murlocs. If you're doing dragons, you're doing dragons. And 2 random Murlocs, I think that's too big of a range to make this good. So why wouldn't you just do Murlocs or just do dragons?
What if this is a hint at what's to come? What if next year we're going to continually get Dragon Murloc split synergies and we're going to have a split tribe archetype by mid 2020?
I don't know. Tyron's also saying Amalgam, but isn't Amalgam going to rotate out, or hasn't it already? So maybe in Wild?
Maybe? What the hell was Amalgam from? I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember.
Witchwood? No. Yeah, Witchwood.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, so it's gonna be gone, but yeah, maybe if you're just building a Murloc deck, but then also you have amalgams and you hold on to them, then they count as dragons, and then you play this guy and you get 2 random bodies alongside your 3/3. Sure, I guess maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah. Are we playing Amalgam right now? I don't think we're going to be playing Amalgam for this.
Yeah. Maybe this is just a Battlegrounds card.
It sure feels like once dragons are added, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. But again, also Jocelyn, I pitched you, like the lore I pitched you was there is now a dragon taming tribe of Murlocs. How does that not excite you? Has the idea... That is pretty cool, I will say. I mean, Murlocs riding dragons, I'm down. But from a funny lore meme way, not a this is actually going to be a viable way to play Hearthstone way. All right, well, mark it, everybody. December 9th, 2019 is when we found out that 2 hours is Jocelyn's limit. That's when she loses the fun.
It is. It really is. Yeah. I'm at the point now where I'm just like, yep, all of my fun energy is gone. Now am I going to play this? F no. Move on.
Move on. Wonderful. Well, we've talked about all of the legendary neutrals already, so we can move on. And that is it. We have wrapped it up. We have talked about every single Descent of Dragons cards until someone emails us and says, hey, you missed one. And we'll be like, yeah, okay. And then we'll cover it and it'll be bad because it was probably some obscure neutral that we left past. And it's fine. We did it, Jocelyn. Congratulations.
We did it. Yay.
Yeah, we can now get back to some semblance of normalcy with Hearthstone, except also Battlegrounds. So there's still going to be thick shows. But
I can't believe the amount of news that we've been kind of skipping over, not to mention all of the emails from you guys. You've been so awesome, still sending in all kinds of questions and everything else. And it just, you've been so great. And I feel really bad that we haven't been able to cover much. But yeah, there's just been crazy amounts of news. Like there's been esports stuff going on. There's been battleground stuff and we haven't been able to get to it. So thank you guys for bearing with us. Card reveal season is always crazy, but it feels like we've had some really beefy full shows in the last month. So thanks for sticking it out.
Indeed. And if you would like to write in, be a part of the show, tacpodcast@gmail.com. If you're supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC, you can leave us messages and questions right there in the patron-only Discord and skip the inbox entirely. So go check it out. And don't worry, if we get backed up on emails and patron questions again, we'll do another bonus episode if we have to. And everyone seemed to like that, by the way. We got a lot of positive feedback on that. So, if the time calls for it, we will do another bonus episode, and that's made entirely possible because of the patrons. We get to take extra time when we need to put it into the Angry Chicken. So thank you for the support, everyone. If you like the show, you want to support us, patreon.com/TAC. And a reminder, we are now adding ad-free episodes of the Angry Chicken via an RSS feed that you can copy and paste into your podcatcher so you can get it like a normal ass podcast as long as you're supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. So go check it out. Also, speaking of the Patreon, thank you to our producers, Declan H, Sean C, and Cheesy Bob. If you want to look into becoming a producer and get thanked on every single episode of the Angry Chicken for your support, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. That's going to wrap it up. Joss, what are you doing? Your Joss Plays on Twitter. You're probably still raising money for a very good cause.
I am, yeah. So if you go over to Twitch, I'm at Joss Plays over on Twitch as well. And I am doing another stream this coming Saturday, raising money for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. And also, I want to pimp something this week that has nothing to do with me, but I just absolutely, really, really enjoyed this. Justin Robert Young, who is often on the show, has started doing a podcast called Raise the Dead. It's a political, look back, historical type podcast about the 1960 election in the States. And oh my God, is it entertaining? I mean, I'm a history nerd anyways, but I listened to it over the weekend and I just, oh my God, I'm going to go back and listen to episode 1 again because it was so good. It's jam-packed with information, but it's presented in this upbeat, fun kind of way. And dude, I don't know if you've listened to it, but it's so good. I really can't recommend it enough. So it's Raise the Dead by Justin Robert Young. Go check it out.
Yeah, it's exceptionally well done. And considering he's an honorary third chair on the Angry Chicken, you should definitely go and support.
I have to pimp his stuff. I have to do it.
You got to do it. Raise the Dead.
It's really good.
I can't believe the launch he had too, because it wasn't just top 10 in a specific genre on iTunes. It was top 10 all podcasts ever. Yeah, the launch was absolutely insane, and it makes sense why, because it is such a well produced podcast. So definitely go check it out. We're big fans of Justin Robert Young here, seeing as I think he's our most recurring guest.
Yes.
So at one point, I think Ben Brode had him beat, but Ben Brode doesn't work for Team 5 anymore. So Ben Brode, if you're listening, you can just come on and talk about playing Hearthstone. You don't have to talk about having developed it. Just saying.
We'll have you anytime. Open invite.
Open invite. You too, Yang Wu. Anyone over at Second Dinner? You feel like talking Hearthstone? Come on. Get over here. Why not? Garrett Art on Twitter. You should definitely go support Joss's Extra Life drive because it is such a freaking awesome, good cause. So go and support that. amove.tv for all the shows. Mandalorian spoiler episodes of Let's Talk About Star Wars going out every week. Brand new episode just went up yesterday about Chapter 5. So go subscribe to Let's Talk About Star Wars wherever podcasts can be found. And I just launched a new WoW podcast called WoW Killer, where Taliesin of Taliesin and Nevitel and myself dig into a single WoW topic per episode. And a new episode of that should be going up this Wednesday. You can listen to episode 1 right now by searching WoW Killer wherever podcasts can be found, even Stitcher. I even was like, screw it. I'm going to give Stitcher another try. I'm going to give them one more chance. See how it goes. You can even find it on Stitcher, but seriously, please, for the love of God, subscribe anywhere else. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back actually tomorrow for our launch stream, which may be a little bit later than it actually going live, but we're going to try and turn the stream on as soon as we possibly can to Descent of Dragons going live. So come on over to twitch.tv/AMOTV or /Joss Plays. Hang out with us. Watch Jocelyn get amazing luck. Watch me be a salty bastard. We're all going to have a good time as Descent of Dragons descends. So it's going to do it for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thanks again, everybody. And until next time, job's done.
Job's done.